murder charges and weapons offenses in the shooting death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson last December. Thompson, a husband and father of two from Minnesota, was shot in the back. Mangione has pleaded not guilty. He also faces multiple charges in Pennsylvania and in federal court after a 6-day manhunt ended with his arrest in western Pennsylvania.
Now, Mangione is expected in court around 2:15 this afternoon. Check back for updates. Your weather for today, mostly sunny, staying cold. Afternoon highs only around 46, but a warm-up is on the way. WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards will have Atlanta Radio's only 5-day forecast. That'll come your way at 12:05. Now in Gwinnett County, this is new at noon. Police investigating what appears to be a murder-suicide. This is on Centerview Drive. It happened around 10:30 last night. Officers are going to the apartment, and they went last night around 10:30 after getting a call from a concerned family member. Officers made a forced entry into that apartment and found a man and a woman dead inside. Autopsies will be done to determine the cause of death. No names have yet been released as the investigation is ongoing. 1 year ago today, Laken Riley was killed jogging on the UGA campus in Athens. Her death sparked calls for more campus security. Daniel Silk with Public Safety at UGA says they've made a lot of improvements since that tragedy.
The increase in campus safety ambassadors, overall 21% increase in police personnel, a 28% increase in the number of students and parents and employees who have signed up to the UGA Safe app. There's a lot of good things going on.
And the man who killed Riley, Jose Ibarra, was convicted and sentenced to life without parole. An explosion at a Hawaii beachside condominium resort in a popular tourist area has injured some people and left a pile of debris. Police say the explosion happened last night at the Aston at the Whaler Resort in West Maui. This man, David Flint, was nearby when the explosion happened.
We were swimming down in the pool down at the Sheridan, and suddenly there was just like this huge shaking boom. Like you could tell it wasn't like a firework or something somebody planned.
And about a half a dozen people were injured. They range in age from 18 to 74, 3 of them in critical condition. Well, after months of speculation, the Fulton County School Board finally voting on closing popular schools that are performing well, but the district says have dwindling enrollment and whose buildings are old.
All those in favor to close Park Lane Elementary School. 4. All those opposed. 3. The motion carries 4-3.
And another 4-3 vote to close Spalding Drive Elementary as well. The schools will close at the end of this school year, and the students will be rezoned to other nearby schools. Georgia's largest school district making some decisions on school safety measures.
After trying out clear backpacks in some Gwinnett County schools, students report problems with durability, privacy, and most say they had no real impact on their overall sense of safety.
We are not going to be moving forward with a district-wide mandate for clear backpacks. However, we're not closing the door for schools that may want to implement it at the local level.
Chief of Schools Dr. Al Taylor says instead they recommend moving forward with installing weapons detection systems at middle and high schools and hiring more school resource officers for elementary schools. Jennifer Perry, 95.5 WSB.
All right, layoff notices are going out to about 6,000 IRS workers. It's part of the government layoffs. Karen Travers has more on the impact of these layoffs at the IRS.
The White House will say that the impacts will not be felt in terms of the tax filing season. That's according to sources at the IRS. But this potentially could have an impact if there are any delays for people who are trying to get their tax refunds or people who are looking for assistance right now as they're filing their tax returns.
And tax preparers urging you to file early. A new report claims President Trump will soon be taking over the U.S. Postal Service. Jay Gray has more on that.
For the 250 years that it's been around, the post office has been an independent agency. Now, though, the Washington Post reporting overnight that President Trump is getting ready to dissolve the post office into his commerce agency.
The report says that Trump is expected to issue an executive order as soon as this week to fire members of the United States Postal Service Governing Board. Board members tell the Washington Post that they plan to fight the executive order and will sue the White House if Trump tries to remove board members or change the agency's independent status. The White House says, however, that they are planning no such executive order. And the New York Yankees are changing their infamous facial hair policy. The team will now allow players to have well-groomed beards starting this season. The Yankees have barred players from having facial hair other than a mustache since the 1970s. Let's take a look at the markets. The Dow right now down 364. NASDAQ is also down almost a full percent, and the S&P is down more than 0.5%. Time now for live team coverage of traffic and weather. Alex Williams has a look at your lunchtime roads.
Watching brake lights on I-75 northbound through Marietta and Kennesaw due to pothole repair that has been rolling in the right lane, really between 575 and Chastain Road. So if you want to avoid it, you can always jump over, use Highway 41 Cobb Parkway. Also got right lane construction in Dorville, 285 westbound, the outer loop at Buford Highway. 285 southbound also slow into cab passing Glenwood Road exit 44, trying to get a stall out of a left lane there. And in Stockbridge, crash clearing from a right lane, 75 southbound Hudson Bridge Road exit 224. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
Time now for Atlanta Radio's only 5-day forecast, sponsored by Shoemate, the official heating of winter.
Sunny skies, but staying rather chilly today with a high of 46. That's trending 15 degrees below average. Another hard freeze for tonight with lows falling to the mid-20s. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, high 52. The warm-up continues on Sunday, morning low 30, afternoon high 56. Sunny skies for Monday and Tuesday. Morning lows in the 40s, daytime highs in the mid-60s to low 70s.
We will have more news at 12:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm back on the air today. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here, working a Friday for you. The phone number of this open line Friday, 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, you can always text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Get the live stream, the show notes, the podcast. Follow me around social media this weekend where I'm doing some cooking. Glad to have you with me. The super secret meetings of the vast right-wing conspiracy were great yesterday. Had a brief meeting in a very white building, and then went and saw other people around Capitol Hill. It was well done, and it was very, very cold. There was one body of water near my hotel completely frozen over. It was just very, very cold in D.C. I managed to avoid the CPAC area, did not want the plague. Mark safe from groping. Now, we got to get into the news of the day. I want to begin going back to what I talked about on Wednesday with the Ukraine situation and President Trump. And I wrote about this morning. I've thought about it. It just kind of, it's bugged me. Let me explain to you from the people that I have spoken to, including people yesterday in D.C., their view of the president's statements about Volodymyr Zelensky and Ukraine. And it's basically this. The president understands the war's got to come to an end. They're largely in stalemate, Ukraine and Russia. A lot of lives lost. And Zelensky needs to realize he's not in the driver's seat of negotiations. And he's going to have to lose territory. He's not going to be able to get everything back. Concurrently, from the excuses, the explanations, whatever you want to call it, people close to Trump say that he's attacking Zelensky. One, Zelensky really has made him mad, but two, trying to put the Russians on some false footing, thinking they're going to get more favorable negotiations from the United States than they actually are. So they go in thinking, boy, he's really hacked off with Zelensky. He's going to be on our side. He's parroting our talking points. And then they go in and they get ambushed. That's the explanation. Whether you agree with it or not, at least understand that's the explanation. There are some problems, though. You know, international law is not really a body of law. It is a body of operations and standards and defaults in world relations. There's not really any codification, but there are precedents and procedures. There are different treaties that you can pay attention to, things like that. One of the things you have to understand about international law is that if a country attacks another country and takes that country's territory, under international law, that's unlawful. And other nations are within their right to impose sanctions. Other nations are in their right to respond with force. But if a country is invaded and it not only repels the invaders but moves into the invading nation's land and takes the invading nation's land and there's peace, the defending nation that wound up taking the land of the bad guy for a buffer zone is within his right to capture that territory. So if you're a defending nation being attacked and you wind up taking land from the attacker, you've got legitimate ground under international law to do that, to build a buffer zone. If you're an attacker attacking and you take land, you don't have legitimate ground. That's why the president's rhetoric matters so much, because the president calling the Ukrainians the ones who started the war, calling them warmongers, saying Zelensky is a dictator. By the way, Donald Trump has never called Vladimir Putin, who is a dictator, he's never called him a dictator, but he's calling Volodymyr Zelensky, who is lawfully and democratically elected, a dictator. That's wrong. And by calling the Ukrainians the aggressors and the ones who started the war, he's parroting the Russian talking points to justify the capture of Ukrainian territory under international law. That's a problem. I understand if it's a negotiating talking point, but you got to do it differently, Mr. President. That's not helpful. And I need everyone listening here to understand some basic truths. Ukraine's entry into NATO was already well settled. It wasn't going to happen. The idea that Putin invaded Ukraine because Ukraine might join NATO is propaganda from the Russians. And when you hear anyone say that, you need to understand it's not true. It's propaganda perpetrated by the Russians. Vladimir Putin has also been very clear that he believes that the Russians have a sphere of influence. Ukraine is historically in that sphere of influence, and he wants that sphere of influence back over much of Eastern Europe. He wants to rebuild the Iron Curtain countries in his image. Today in Washington, D.C., an Iranian drone is showing up for display at the Pentagon. The Iranian drone was captured in Ukraine. The Russians have been building and using Iranian drones to bomb Ukraine. North Korean soldiers are in Ukraine, and China is saying it would be happy to station peacekeepers in Ukraine on European soil. Here's my overarching problem. I think that Donald Trump should not lie about Ukraine and its leadership. You know, the Ukrainian Constitution says not to have elections if there is a land war in Ukraine. Many parliamentary democracies around the world are similarly situated. You know, Great Britain didn't have elections during World War II. There was a multi-party coalition that kept Churchill in power. Same thing is happening in Ukraine. The biggest critics of Volodymyr Zelensky exist inside Ukraine in political parties, and they've all come together and agreed we can't have an election right now, and Zelensky needs to be in charge in a multi-party coalition. For Donald Trump to attack Volodymyr Zelensky over elections, which is what Vladimir Putin is doing, Vladimir Putin is the one who suddenly claims that Ukraine needs elections, we're carrying water for the actual dictator. Zelensky actually is widely popular in Ukraine, contrary to what Donald Trump said. There's just no need to tell lies. There's no reason to tell misstatements and disinformation about Ukraine. Yes, this isn't about whether or not we fund the war. This isn't about keeping the war going. This isn't about how we settle the war. It's about the basic truth. Ukraine was invaded by Russia, and we should not be propping up Russian talking points and defaming the Ukrainian people at a time of war that they didn't ask for. Why? Because the United States is the leader of the free world. Ukraine was a free nation invaded. Whose side are we on? You can say no side, but then that raises the other issue of what does the world look like for MAGA? Because I get a growing sense that many of MAGA's leading intellectual voices for foreign policy are very comfortable with Barack Obama's idea that we are one of 195 countries or 198 countries, however many there are. There seems to be an unspoken belief within MAGA that America's time is over and they've given up on us being the leader of the world. We can't do it all, they say. We got too many problems at home, they say. We can't afford it, they say. I don't think we can afford not to. But it sounds like the people who are the leading ideological lights within MAGA have no vision of a world with America leading it. And that's a problem because most Americans have a view of the United States as leader of the free world. And if the leaders in the United States have abandoned that idea, I think the American people are going to abandon the leaders who abandon the idea. They're not going to give up on us being the leader of the free world. They're going to give up on the leaders who've abandoned it. And so much of behind-the-scenes MAGA rhetoric on the future of Ukraine and the world seems like they want to carve up the world. The United States gets the Western Hemisphere. China gets Asia. Russia gets Europe. Maybe we fight over Africa. It's a terrible idea because Russia and China are in a coalition together with Iran and North Korea inside Ukraine. Yeah, essentially, some of these people who just had this idea that we'll take over the Western Hemisphere and Russia and China can fight over the rest of it, they're not fighting over the rest of it. They've already agreed. They've come to terms. And it's going to be them against us. And we've abandoned our allies. What is the world view of MAGA when it comes to foreign policy? I think we need to hear from Donald Trump on this. J.D. Vance has articulated a vision, and it's not a vision of American leadership in the world. It's a vision of American leadership in retreat every time I hear him talk about it. We got to move on. We got to retreat from the world stage. We got to be isolationists. We don't need to be the policekeeper. Nobody wants to be the policekeeper of the world. That's a pejorative, the neocon attack that they make on anyone who thinks the United States should be the leader of the free world. If we're not leading the world, someone's going to lead it. Who's going to lead it? Who do they want to lead it? If you divide up the world into three parts, Russia, China, the United States, it's going to be 2 against 1, and we're going to be on the outside. And I don't think Americans want that. I don't think Americans see that. Americans understand that there are people willing to die to get into the United States. They want to be here so badly. No one wants to flee to Russia. No one wants to flee to China. But so much of the conversation in MAGA needs to be clarified on what is their vision of the world with the United States as the leader of the free world. Or do they reject the idea that the United States should be the leader of the free world? I wish someone would tell me. And I think it's got to be Donald Trump, too, because he gets contradicted so often by his team. But if we are going to be the leader of the free world, I don't think we can be carrying water for Vladimir Putin. I don't think that we can embrace the talking points of Russia. There are some people within MAGA who, for cultural reasons, are sympathetic to the Russians. They're being played for fools. The Russians want a Russian sphere of influence. They don't want to be part of the West. They don't want to be part of Europe. There is a translating from the antipathy for the elite into an antipathy for liberal democracy in parts of MAGA. I think it's time for a good speech from the president on what his vision for the world is. And then that leads me to another concern. More often than not, history shows that when presidents get to their second term and they're thinking about their lame duck status, they're no longer going to matter on the domestic political stage. They try to cement a foreign policy legacy. Almost every president has tried to do that. What's Donald Trump's going to look like in terms of American leadership in the world? Are we going to abandon our role? Are we going to scale it back? Are we going to bet against ourselves? Or are we going to figure out we can't not lead and we need to put ourselves in a position where we can lead? I want to know. I don't have the answers here. I'm just asking for Donald Trump to give us his vision of the world and where America's place in it is. Barack Obama never came out and said he just wanted us to be one of 198 countries, but he was very clear that he thinks that America's leadership of the world is not really for the good of the world, and we do need to be a humble nation where all other nations get input, which is garbage. Look at Gaza. Do you really want the Palestinians to have input in the way the world is shaped? What about North Korea? You want their input? Pick your third world country. I'm concerned about our foreign policy direction from the administration. I'm concerned that the President of the United States is willing to say outright lies about Ukraine to somehow put us in a position to negotiate. This isn't a debate on whether to keep the war going or not. It's not a debate on whether to fund the Ukrainians or not. It's not a debate on how to get our money back from Ukraine or not. It's about the basics. Ukraine was invaded by Russia. Ukraine was not the aggressor. They were the victim. Volodymyr Zelensky is not a dictator. Vladimir Putin is. The reason Ukraine hasn't had elections is because the Constitution in Ukraine says not to have them at time of war. And it's a stupid talking point for stupid people that Abraham Lincoln had elections in the United States. Well, we're not Ukraine. Our Constitution doesn't suspend elections. Theirs does. Had he defied the Constitution, I'm sure they'd be attacking him for defying his Constitution by having an election to prop himself up in power. And also, Jefferson Davis couldn't lob cruise missiles at Chicago on election day. Vladimir Putin can't at Kyiv on election day. They're not the same thing. I just want to know, what is the vision for where the United States' role is in the world now? What does President Trump want? Are we going to lead the world? If so, the leader of the free world should be on the side of a freedom-loving people who were invaded. If not, I guess we all need to start learning Chinese.
Have something to say? Hello. Call the show. 1-877-97-ERIC. That's 1-877-973-7425.
1221 Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. If you're traveling on 285 westbound, the outer loop, or coming 85 south out of Gwinnett to I-285 westbound there in Dorville, you're going to be slowed down by this construction that's in 2 to 3 right lanes. Emergency road work getting past Beaufort Highway, exit number 32. We also have had a stall that's been lingering in the left lane, 285 southbound, the inner loop past Glenwood Road, exit 44. Looks like they're getting that off to the side. And the emergency pothole repair in Marietta, or Kennesaw, I should say, 75 northbound up around Barrett Parkway, exit 269. That has cleared, still on and off the brakes as you leave Delk Road. And the crash in Stockbridge, 75 south at Hudson Bridge Road, that as well has cleared from the right lane. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
The news of the day through the eyes of Eric Von Hessler.
It should go without saying that I abhor violence.
If it's on your mind, it's on his.
I just don't feel like other people that I don't know need to know how I feel about things.
Eric Von Hessler, today at 3.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
There's a new optimism in the air, and we think investors like you might have the best year ever. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. Last year, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Everyday folks from all walks of life have enjoyed 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of small businesses right here at home. If you're a qualified investor and have a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest rates. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. We believe this is going to be a special year and a great year. We've got the projects. Now we need partners like you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and see if our First Liberty notes are right for you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com. That's FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. Purchasers must verify their SEC accredited investor status. Securities are not being offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
Belinda Skelton here for Virtual Imaging, and I have their Chief Operating Officer, Barry Petrie, here in the studio. Barry, tell us what virtual imaging is all about.
Thanks, Belinda. Great to be here. So we have been in business for 15 years, and what we do is we empower folks in the Atlanta area to come in and advocate for their own health and scan for things like heart disease, cancer, aneurysms, and other ailments as well.
How important is it for folks to get that heart scan?
Very important. Heart disease is the #1 killer of Americans, so that's the most important test we want to get as a baseline. Most Americans will die as a result of cardiovascular disease. So if you're going to get one test, that's the one you want to get. And that test will quickly tell you if you have any calcium or plaque in your 5 arterial pathways. The scan itself will take less than 10 minutes, and you will get your results within a day or two.
Barry, I know that virtual imaging screens for so many different things. Tell us what some of the areas of the body you screen for.
We can do anything from head to pelvis. So we can do the heart scan, we can do the head scan, we can also do what I call a core body scan. So that's looking at all those areas between your neck and your pelvis. We're looking for aneurysms, we're looking for tumors, we're looking for cancer, any of those things. So think of this as an ability to do a very wide screening area of the body.
This is Heart Health Month, so you have an offer for us.
Anyone who calls in will get a free heart scan for you and a spouse.
And that number to call is 770-678-SCAN. That's 770-678-SCAN. Go to virtualimagingatl.com.
The following is a paid commercial announcement.
Georgia, we don't need to tell you that your cost of living has gotten too high. Lawsuit abuse creates a hidden tax on your car insurance, health care, groceries, really on everything you need, and it's driving up prices. It's costing Georgia families over $5,000 every year. But there's a solution to stop lawsuit abuse and lower costs for hardworking Georgians. It's tort reform. Listen to Governor Kemp.
Our businesses and hardworking Georgians need relief.
The increased cost of doing business is simply passed on to the consumer.
Georgia needs tort reform, and they need it now.
Call your legislator and tell them to join Governor Kemp in stopping lawsuit abuse, eliminating this hidden tax, and passing tort reform now. Brought to you by Protecting American Consumers Together.
Spring cleaning will be here before you know it, so now's the time to call Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Take advantage of their pre-spring sale and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $129. And when you mention me, Chris Chandler, you'll get a staircase cleaned for free. That's right, 3 rooms of carpet cleaned and a staircase for only $129. Just tell them Chris Chandler sent you. Schedule online at ZeroResAtlanta.com. Zero Res, it's the right way to clean.
All the news, weather, and traffic you need. 95.5 WSB.
He may not tell you what you want to hear, but he tells you what you need to hear. It's the Erick Erickson Show.
Welcome. It is Erick Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, I am happy to have you. It is an open line Friday, but you got to be patient with me because, well, we have a short segment here because I went long in the last segment because I was thinking out loud, as I sometimes do. I do have to tell you, I had some guy harass me on Twitter this morning saying, I know you had to have gone to a meeting of Never Trumpers in Washington, D.C., because I retweeted a column in World Magazine, a Christian publication, about conservative hypocrisy on the moral issues. I was actually meeting with people in the White House yesterday, among others, and so I guess if the president has stocked the Oval Office with Never Trumpers, then yes, but it's just the brokenness of people who can't just figure out that, I am a complicated person with complicated ideas who meet an array of people, but yesterday was actually a very good meeting of conservatives tied around CPAC, which I try to avoid CPAC at all costs, but it was a good day. It was a good series of meetings. It was very productive. It made me feel loved. And then I flew home. Kudos to the Delta flight attendants who got up this morning. So had this wild situation flying back from the airport. They had a guy who was singing karaoke at the gate. He was a Delta employee. He had a microphone. He had an amplifier. He had a karaoke system, play music. When he started singing Greatest Showman or tunes, I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. It's too early in the morning for this. He had a great voice, but I'm sorry, I just couldn't handle the Greatest Showman show tunes at 5:45 in the morning. Now, Old Glory Bank, let me tell you about them, because they're my bank. I saw some of the Old Glory Bank people yesterday. They're good people. They are my people. They are my bank. They can be your bank. If you go to oldglorybank.com, you get a checking account, a savings account. They have mortgages, HELOCs, you do car loans, business loans. You do CDs. They're a fully operational, fully functional bank, and they'd love to have your business. They're by conservatives. They are for conservatives, and they would love to be your bank. You're not going to get debanked with Old Glory Bank. In fact, Mike Green, the CEO, testified before Congress just a week or so ago about the debanking trends and how that inspired Old Glory Bank to be started. It's a very real thing, debanking, but it's not with Old Glory Bank. If you're a gun operator, conservative, you're worried about debanking, you should do business with Old Glory Bank. OldGloryBank.com. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. If you'd like to own stock in Old Glory Bank, you can check them out at own.oldglorybank.com. Own.oldglorybank.com. Stock, of course, goes up and down. It's not FDIC insured. You need to talk to someone if you're interested in owning part of freely transferable stock from Old Glory Bank. Check them out at own.oldglorybank.com.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's news and talk.
It is 12:30. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. We do have breaking news right now. Atlanta police say they are investigating a shooting in southwest Atlanta. They confirm the shooting happened near Pryor Street and I-20. One person has been taken to the hospital. That person is in critical condition. Reportedly, we're working to learn more. We'll bring you updates as we get them. Your weather for today, mostly sunny and cold. Afternoon highs only around 46. A warm-up is on the way, though, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Sandy Springs police have issued an arrest warrant for 2 people in connection with the shooting of a teenager yesterday on Roberts Road. Sandy Springs Police Sergeant Leon Milholland telling WSB what happened at that apartment complex.
Police found a juvenile female had been shot. She was taken to a local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
And warrants are out for the male friend of the young lady and for his mother. Police are asking for your help in locating the suspects, Nakai Brown and Lanisha Younger. That's who they're looking for. The man accused of gunning down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson will be in court this afternoon. This is Luigi Mangioni's first court appearance since pleading not guilty back in December. Legal contributor Shanna Lloyd says Mangioni has a team of lawyers.
It's a very robust team. There's a number of attorneys that are working on his defense, which is going to give them a bit of an advantage when we talk about discovery requests and how they're processing motions. It does allow for the work to be distributed a little bit better.
And a trial date could be set this afternoon for check back for updates. He's expected in court around 2 o'clock. There's been an arrest in the theft of former University of Georgia quarterback Carson Beck's automobiles. Police have arrested Tyquan Anderson in Miami for stealing Beck's Lamborghini and Mercedes. Police are still looking for 3 other suspects. It's 12:32.
At Butler Lexus South Atlanta, they make service seamless. Utilize their convenient working stations, enjoy their cafe, or relax in their guest lounge. Need to stay on the go? They provide complimentary rental vehicles. Visit ButlerLexusSouthAtlanta.com to schedule your appointment.
My old mentor, Adrian Rogers, taught me this. He said, you are free to choose. You are not free not to choose. And you're not free to choose the consequences of your choices. Your choices choose those for you. I want you to hear that again. You are free to choose. You are not free not to choose. And you're not free to choose the consequences of your choices. Our lives and our eternities depend on our choices. This is Tom Gray, and This Stuff Matters.
ThisStuffMatters.net.
Hey, it's Eric Von Hessler. With Orchard's Equity Advance, you'll unlock cash so you can buy your new home before you sell your old home. Skip the selling hassles and check it out at orchard.com.
Did you know there's money hidden in your yard? Really? Truly. Water furnace heat pumps actually pull the energy stored in the ground and turn it into free, renewable energy to keep your home comfortable in every climate. A water furnace geothermal system can save you up to 70% on your heating, cooling, and hot water costs. 70% off your utility bills. It's the only type of system that will pay you back. Most homeowners with water furnace geothermal save more on monthly bills than they actually pay for the system when installation costs are financed. See how much you could save by visiting our savings calculator at waterfurnace.com. Now, are you ready for the bonus? A 30% federal tax credit for residential ground source heat pump installations has been extended through 2032. More money back to you. Save up to 70% on your heating, cooling, and hot water costs with Water Furnace. Take 5 minutes to check it out at waterfurnace.com/ATL and then start saving.
Healthy, beautiful skin can be yours with Olansky Dermatology. Their expert team offers personalized care for medical, Mohs, surgery, and aesthetic skincare needs. Schedule 24/7 online with their Cumming, Roswell, or Buckhead locations, including new evening and Saturday hours in Buckhead. With 40 years of excellence and over 5,000 five-star Google reviews, trust Atlanta's top-rated dermatology practice. Visit OlanskyDermatology.com or call today. Olansky Dermatology and Aesthetics, where everyone deserves healthy skin.
Alex Williams, how are we doing on the roads?
Slow once again between Kennesaw and Marietta, and coming out of Ackworth, they just wrapped up more pothole repair, this time 75 south around Barrett Parkway. That's cleared. Still got the emergency road work in multiple right lanes in Doraville. 285 west getting past Buford Highway, slow in the ride coming out of Norcross on 85 south. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Mostly sunny but staying chilly today. High 46. That's trending about 15 degrees below average. Lows tonight in the mid-20s.
We have 41 degrees here in Midtown Atlanta. We will have more news at 1 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
Smart, fearless, and occasionally funny. You're listening to The Eric Erickson Show.
Alrighty, welcome back. It's Eric Erickson here. We're having audio difficulties we're trying to assess on the fly. So if you hear some background noise, my apologies. Something has happened to my little connection. We're trying to diagnose it on the fly. So nonetheless, I digress. We have more we have to talk about. I'm echoing now? Oh. What's going on? Okay, I sound better now? Okay, all right. I think I sound better. We think I sound better. We completely swapped out equipment during the commercial break because, well, I did. Now I have a new fancy microphone. In any event, we got other stuff we got to talk about because we got to talk about Doge. The Doge stuff is, let's see here. Hang on. Oh, yeah, okay. All right, we will focus now. I have a sneaking suspicion about something that's happening. I think we're beginning to see the bureaucrats try to sabotage Doge. I'm hearing an echo too, which is very odd. Let's see if I can figure this out on the fly. I have no idea. Let's try this. Okay, I don't know that that'll work or not, folks. Sorry about this. We're having a weird gremlin in the works all of a sudden. And yeah, there is absolutely an echo. So just bear with me. We'll get to it. You know what? Why don't I do this before I get into Doge while we figure this out? Let me go to William's phone call. William, welcome to the Eric Erickson Show. Save me from my microphone.
Hello, Eric. How are you?
Good. How are you? I recognize his voice.
I know you do. Tell Christy we love her and we pray for her daily.
Thank you very much.
If I could have just a minute, we are 100% on board with you. What is being done with Ukraine is a disgrace. And, it's remarkable to me that the people who called actual conservatives rhinos, you're not a real conservative, they're supporting somebody who's essentially adopted the foreign policy of Obama and Elizabeth Warren. I mean, you can go on the internet and you can find a video of Obama with his, the open mic moment he had with Medvedev, where he says, hey, if I get through the 2012 election, I'll have more flexibility. I can sell out our nuclear arsenal. And you remember when that happened. And then Elizabeth Warren, she spends from 2016 to 2020 saying no new American nuclear weapons. Well, this week we have Trump say, we can agree no more American nuclear weapons or no more new ones. Well, why wouldn't the Russians and Chinese agree to that? Theirs are far newer than ours, particularly the Chinese. And then a day later, you had Hegseth come out and say, we're going to cut the military budget 8%, not 8%, but 8% a year. So we're going to run down the military by half. It's Bernie Sanders' wildest dreams. But the question I had for you, because you mentioned earlier in the week that you speak to people frequently that are close to Trump, I mean, what's the logic behind this from a political standpoint? They spent 4 years fighting the Russiagate stuff, and they come out ahead. Mueller comes out and says, hey, we can't find anything. And now the things he's doing basically rekindles that fire because it's so absurd, it's so outlandish to just parrot Russian propaganda as he's doing. it's political malpractice. So I was curious of your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So I'm tracking exactly where you are on this one, and what I am told when I push on this issue is that Trump believes Europe has to be motivated to do more, and this is the way he thinks he can motivate Europe to do more. But when you really have kind of the late night conversations with these guys, have a couple of glasses of bourbon and continue the conversation, where you get to is there's an underlying doubt that we are in a position to still be able to lead the world as we have done in the past. And do we need to scale back our role in the world, and how do we do it in such a way to be able to get Europe to take care of Europe so we can deal with China? Because these guys, they all really do believe China is the problem. They all really do believe China is a threat. And they all really do believe we got to do something to deal with China, but they don't know that we're on an economic or military footing to be able to take it on. In large part, it goes back to when Barack Obama made the decision that the United States should no longer be capable of winning two wars at one time on two fronts. And he scaled back the military to we should be able to win one war, hold the other front while we win that one, and then regroup to go after that other war. And there's this growing belief among some close to Trump that we're not equipped right now to be able to hold on one front while we win another war. We got to get other people to hold that front for us.
Interesting.
Yeah, whether you or I agree with it or not, I at least will acknowledge there's a legitimate concern with the downsizing of the military going back to Obama and the abandonment of the post-World War II worldview that the United States should always be able to win two wars on two fronts at one time. And they don't know how to realign the priorities.
How do they reconcile that with what Hegseth said, the 8% cuts a year for 5 years?
You know, I got to tell you, there's way more controversy behind the scenes on that one than I was expecting, particularly among senators. There is not everyone recognizes there are things that can be cut within the military, but there's a wide concern that these are too steep a cuts. And these concerns lead some to believe that this is a tacit admission from some within the Trump administration that we want to get out of world leadership business, not even world policemen, just world leadership, and maybe lead the Western Hemisphere, but not the rest of the world. And a lot of senators are raising red flags about Pete Hegseth's level of cuts that he wants from the military. By the way, I don't know if you saw the news just a little while ago. They've decided to pause even the beginning conversations on these cuts for a review assessment.
Good. Eric, we love you. Keep up the fight. And I owe you a dinner. You just named
Yeah,
the
you
time.
sure do. We got to get together at some point. My wife misses you.
We miss her. We miss her. Take care and God bless you.
You too. Y'all, so that is my dear friend William, who was in my wedding, who we have not talked to in multiple years. We trade notes online, but a great, great, great guy. Now, we got to move on to other phone calls, 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, Boris, you're up next. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thanks for taking my call, Eric. Just to explain to you why I will say what I will say, let me say this. I'm one who left Soviet Union in 1979, and I'm a U.S. citizen for over 40 years. For over 30 years, I have done a lot of business in what used to be Soviet Union and other countries around Mongolia and blah, blah, many countries. And I look at the comments and opinions Trump is telling us about the war between Ukraine and Russia from a grassroots perspective of local citizens in Russia and in Ukraine. You already mentioned many times that there is a lot of hatred even within the same families living on the other side of the border, you know, parents to children and sisters to brothers and on and on and on. But I also know that a lot of Ukrainians, patriotic Ukrainians who are in Ukraine throughout the country, will never, ever agree to the sellout of the country for the sake of truth or alleged peace with Russia. There is a lot of hatred of the Russians in Ukraine, and there is some, not as much, but some hatred in Russia of the Ukrainians. It's very different from what it used to be when I was in the Soviet Union, when we looked at Ukrainians and Russians like the same people. There was not really one iota of difference between those two ethnic groups for us in the Soviet Union. I realize that there is a counter to what I will say, and a lot of people with whom I spoke in Russia and Ukraine expressed that to me. They want the war to end. Everybody wants the war to end. But when a country like United States forces a victim to concede to the aggressor part of its territory, that part of territory populated by Ukrainians and Russians alike, who have generations of people living there, will continue sabotage in the areas where Russians will take authority and power. They will never, not ever is a long thing to say, but for generations, there will be no peace there. They will blow up cars, kill local authorities, blow up railroads, and on and on and on. They will do what the Soviet Union did to the Germans during World War II. It will be going on and on and on, and eventually it will spill out of Ukraine and into Europe. Europeans are right to worry about Russia.
They are.
Russia and Russians in particular.
Go ahead, Boris.
They are not like Americans. In America, the country is just more civilized. Mm-hmm. When you go to Russia and you do business there, or if you go there as a tourist, you see the locals in a different light altogether. I took my children who have grown up in America and were in their early 20s to the country they had never visited many years ago, more than 20 years ago. You know, I'm pretty old. Mm-hmm. And we were talking English to each other. So the Russians who don't know English thought that I am of United States naturally, was born and, just another lousy American. And I'm listening to the comments in Russian to what they say about Americans without realizing that I and my wife understand every word they say. The Russians that you, to some degree, naive people think they're good, Western-oriented people. The Russians commenting to each other honestly, knowing that or thinking that they know that people around them don't know Russian. What they say to each other is not what they say to you. They think differently in, as you say, around the kitchen table than they do when they give you an interview for TV or radio or newspaper. When a local American newspaper person, Gershkovich, notwithstanding.
So listen, Boris, I very much appreciate your phone call, and you've made some good points. I got to let you go there because I'm coming up on a commercial break, but I want to amplify what you just said with this great piece in today's Wall Street Journal from Yaroslav Trofimov, who is the chief foreign policy writer for the Wall Street Journal, just to give you perspective, to give everybody perspective to what Boris was just saying. The war that Russia's waging against Ukraine and that President Trump says he's determined to end by opening talks with the Kremlin isn't just about territorial gains or global power. It is fundamentally a struggle over historic memory. 3 years after the Russian invasion began on February 24th, 2022, it's generational trauma of the country suffering under Russian and Soviet rule that motivates the Ukrainians to keep defying a much more powerful enemy. In 1926, Soviet Ukraine was home to 29 million people. By the time Joseph Stalin died in 1953, it had lost half its population to famine, war, and mass killings. Almost every Ukrainian today is a descendant of the survivors of the dark decades under Soviet rule. That should put everything in perspective of what they're facing. Now, I got to tell you about Americans for Prosperity before I get out of here, because they are rallying members of Congress to help shape this new tax package in Washington, D.C., and they're rallying the grassroots to rally the members of Congress. If you go to protectprosperity.com today, you can sign up to be an activist for Americans for Prosperity. You can sign up with them, and you can engage them on the issues about the tax plan, how to shape it, how to extend it, how to make President Trump's tax cuts permanent. Americans for Prosperity is raising an army of grassroots activists to keep the pressure on Congress to do the right thing. They'd love to have you on board. They are the largest leading grassroots group in the United States. All you have to do is go to protectprosperity.com, click the action button. You can find out more information about where things stand in Congress to educate your family and friends. You can also contact your members of Congress through the website to push them to do the right thing on this. You can help shape public policy and be a part of it through Americans for Prosperity. All you have to do is go to protectprosperity.com today. Once you do that, you'll be good to go.
1251 Cool Day Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Emergency road work continues in Doorville, 285 westbound, the outer loop, Beaufort Highway, exit 32. Multiple right lanes are blocked. It's also slowing 85 south, especially in the right lanes coming down from Jimmy Carter. And now we have a stalled truck in the left lane of the 285 eastbound inner loop ramp to I-85 northbound there. You're on the brake lights back to Chamblee-Dunwoody Road. And if you're traveling downtown, 85 southbound getting sluggish, leaving Georgia 400 with brake lights continuing 75-85 southbound on and off from 17th Street in Midtown for the ride down to I-20. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
When traffic hits.
Raining pretty heavy. Crash still on the right lane, 85 northbound Hamilton Mill.
The Triple Team Traffic Center has you covered.
Pausing for a long, slow ride to I-20.
Your source for Atlanta's traffic.
Not often we can say this, but 285 is looking great.
Brought to you by the Cool Ray Lifetime Parts and Labor Warranty.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
I'm here with Chris Hoffman, the founder of Hoffman Financial Group and host of Money Unleashed. Chris, with all the things we're reading, seeing, and living through these days, from rate cuts, election season, and now a new administration, now seems like a great time to make sure we have that comprehensive plan in place. You know, the one that covers all our financial bases.
There are occasions throughout the year where I feel like it's critical for people to engage their financial lives and get the information that they deserve from a financial advisory team. And this is one of those times, to be quite frank. So we ask that you call us if you have a minimum of $500,000 in your full portfolio. But we're going to do away with that minimum so that those folks can have an equal opportunity to understand what's in their portfolio as well. Now, you have to have some money, right? I can't help you to build your wealth at work, right? But I sure can help, I believe, with your 401k, IRA management. There's probably 2 or 3 things that'll surprise you that you may want to take action on. So the next 10 people that call in will work up either a portfolio x-ray, or if you feel like you need a full retirement plan, go to unleashyourmoney.com, click on portfolio x-ray, or click on full retirement plan. We think you'll be impressed enough, and we want you to become a client. There's no question about it. We believe that we are a very competent fiduciary advisory team, and we want to offer that to our listeners. Let Hoffman Financial Group actually show you how we perform, and I believe we perform at the pinnacle of this industry.
Call the Hoffman Financial Group at 404-737-3858, 404-737-3858, or online at unleashyourmoney.com. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Hoffman Financial Group Incorporated, Georgia Insurance License number 163546.
February is Heart Health Month, and there's no better time to take care of your heart. This is Scott Slade. It's the perfect month to call Virtual Imaging and get your free heart scan to help you stay ahead of heart disease before you even know there's a problem. You've been hearing us talk about how Virtual Imaging's free heart scan can save lives. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in the United States, and any problem with your heart that you can detect early means you have a better chance of living a longer life. Call Virtual Imaging today and get your free heart scan. What are you waiting for? Call 770-678-SCAN. It's quick, painless, and you'll get a clear picture of your heart's health so you know where you stand. And it's a great way to mark Heart Health Month. Don't wait until it's too late. Call Virtual Imaging now and schedule your free heart scan with a few minimum requirements. It's quick, easy, and could save your life. I've done it. Call 770-678-SCAN. That's 770-678-SCAN. Because your heart deserves it. If not for yourself, do it for your family.
WSB Atlanta, WSBB FM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Every 36 seconds, a vehicle is stolen in the United States. Cars are an important investment, and you have the power to protect it. Remove valuables from your car or place out of view. Roll up your windows completely. Don't leave your car running while unattended, especially during the winter. And always lock your doors and take your keys or fob with you. If you know something about a vehicle theft, call us at 1-800-TEL-NICB.
This is a public service message from the National Insurance Crime Bureau.
Your non-stop news source, 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Just joined us? Check out the Eric Erickson Show 24/7 stream on the Odyssey app, available for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto.
Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here. This hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. If you're buying a building, if you're growing or expanding your business and you see opportunities, reach out to First Liberty Building and Loan at firstlibertyga.com. firstlibertyga.com, and see if they can help your business grow. Before we jump to new topics at the top of the next hour, I want to go to Ben calling from New York. Ben, welcome to the show.
Hey, Eric, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right. It's my first time calling into a national radio show, second time into any radio show. So, hey. So I had a question for you about school choice. So some brief background. I'm 28. I have 4 kids, 6, 4, 3, and 1.5. I know you always enjoy hearing that.
Oh, yeah.
We have our hands full. The older 2 are in school now. So I was homeschooled K through 12. My dad was a public school teacher my whole life. My mom actually pulled my brother out of school because he had dyslexia, and the principal didn't like special needs students. So the article I believe you shared from the Free Post last week is what reminded me of this, because that could have been us. I started learning to read late. That could have been me. I would not have thrived in a public school. So I'm not against government schools because I was homeschooled, but because my dad was a teacher. I've heard everything that goes on in our public schools. So I'm not sending my kids anywhere near a public school, especially in New York State, this communist hellhole. So I crunched the numbers the other week, and if we moved to Florida or Tennessee where there's no income tax and school choice, when my wife finishes her degree as an NP, because I'm like your friend you mentioned the other week, I'm a stay-at-home dad, and my wife is a nurse.
Yep.
So
Ben, I got about 30
when
seconds.
she finishes her degree, then we will be saving $20,000 to $50,000 annually by school choice and no tax. So is there any reason, I couldn't find any answer to this online, why school choice can't be passed on a local level, like even a county level?
Yes, because under American constitutional system, counties are subsidiaries of states. So it's actually the state that's in charge of education, not the county. Now, the state can pass a law and give counties choices to do it or not, but the actual decision on school choice actually has to come from the state government, because under the constitutional system we have, it's the states that are in charge of education. A county and a city are just subsidiaries of the state.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Paid for by Estella's Pharma.
News, weather,
Traffic. 95.5 WSB. Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. Our top story is new this hour. Governor Kemp's efforts to reform the state's litigation rules clears a major hurdle as the state Senate votes to advance the first of two bills on the issue.
On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 33 and the nays are 21. This bill, having received requisite constitutional majorities, therefore passed by substitute.
All right, Kemp has made this his top legislative priority this session. Democrats have pushed back on the effort, saying it benefits insurance companies. The measure now goes to the House. Your weather for today, mostly sunny, but staying cold, not getting out of the 40s. Highs around 46, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. She'll have Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast straight ahead. Next hour, the man accused of shooting and killing the CEO of United Healthcare will be in a courtroom. Luigi Mangione making his first court appearance since December when he pleaded not guilty.
Mangione has garnered a massive wave of popularity, this week issuing his first statement through a website created by his defense team, saying the support has transcended political, racial, and even class divisions. And donations continue to pour into his defense fund, which has now raised more than $500,000.
And Trevor Ault reports the hearing today could result in a trial date being set, so check back for updates. Drug overdose deaths are down for the first time since the pandemic began. New CDC data today shows that the rate of overdose deaths fell 4% from 2022 to 2023. In Gwinnett County, police are investigating what appears to be a murder-suicide. This is on Centerview Drive. It happened around 10:30 last night. Officers went to the apartment after getting a call from a concerned family member. They made forced entry into that apartment and found a man and a woman dead inside. Autopsies will be done to determine the cause of death. No names have yet been released. We do have an update on Pope Francis. He is still in a hospital in Rome. CBS's Vicki Barker has an update on his condition.
The Pope's doctors have just delivered their first in-person update on his condition. They say he's getting occasional supplements of oxygen and is responding to drug therapy for his double pneumonia. He's also being treated for a complex lung condition.
The 88-year-old Francis was admitted to the hospital on Valentine's Day, February 14th. Update on the egg shortage. Turkey has agreed to send 15,000 tons of eggs to the U.S. This after bird flu forced the slaughter of roughly 160 million birds to help control the spread of the virus. The first shipment of eggs from Turkey expected by the end of the month. It's 1:02.
Hey, Belinda here with Dr. Ashraf from Atlanta Vision Institute to talk about a new procedure, permanent contact lenses. This is a game changer, isn't it, Dr. Ashraf?
It is for some people. This is an implantable Collamer lens. It's been around for a while, but this new technology is amazing. This is really good for people who in the past weren't candidates for LASIK. And remember, LASIK's been around for over 20 years. Technology is always advancing. So this lens is a quick procedure. We do it in the office. Vision recovers very quickly. You're back to work the next day. LASIK, it causes an inducement of dry eyes. This does not.
Ooh.
And unlike your contacts, there's no maintenance on this. There is nothing. You get up and go. It is permanent now. In the future, if you do need to remove it, we can remove it.
Oh, that's tremendous. Folks, is this something you're interested in to better your vision? Go to lensatlanta.com. That's LENS Atlanta.com.
Double down on big savings for one day only, February 22nd, 2025, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Buy 2 new south windows and doors. Get 2 free, plus 2 years of 0% interest financing. If paid in full within 24 months. Bring your window and door measurements to upgrade your home with more security, energy efficiency, and impact protection. Stop by our showroom on February 22nd, 2025 to get this deal. Offer is subject to terms and conditions. Visit newsouthwindow.com/222 for full details.
Welcome to Take 5 Oil Change.
Hey, which way is your waiting room?
Oh, you can stay in your car. It only takes 10 minutes.
I can stay in? Get out. I better find a good playlist to listen to while I wait. EDM? Nah. Oh, what about something classical? Nah. You got any suggestions?
Dad rock?
Now you speaking my language.
Take 5.
the stay-in-your-car 10-minute oil change.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been diagnosed with mesothelioma, call us now. $30 billion was set aside for meso victims, and in most cases, your claim is settled out of court without a jury trial. Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hey, it's Eric Von Hessler. With Orchard's Equity Advance, you'll unlock cash so you can buy your new home before you sell your old home. Skip the selling hassles and check it out at orchard.com.
Live team coverage of traffic and weather. Here's Alex Williams.
All jammed up in Dorville and Dunwoody. We had that construction still in a few right lanes. 285 westbound, the outer loop, Beaufort Highway exit 32. Earlier stall, 285 eastbound, the inner loop, the ramp to I-85 northbound. That's been moved into the Gore, so all lanes open there. And just found a new stall in Marietta. It's in the center lane, 75 northbound, approaching Delk to exit 261. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Mostly sunny today, high 46. That's trending about 15 degrees below average. A hard freeze for tonight, lows in the mid-20s. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, high 52. The warm-up continues on Sunday with sunny skies. Morning low 30, afternoon high 56.
And as we take a look at WSB Storm Tracker radar, it is clear. How about some good news? Temperatures climbing into the 60s and even 70s by early next week, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. 36 degrees in Snellville, 35 in Villa Rica. Brookhaven, you have 36 degrees right now. We'll have more news at 1:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, we would love to have you. If you text the word data to 33777, you too can subscribe to the show notes. We got a bunch of stuff we've got to get to, and I unfortunately have to get to that one particular thing that I don't particularly wish to get to and yet can't avoid. I have worked very hard to not have to think about it, but we gotta talk about it. You undoubtedly saw yesterday. Oh, y'all, I don't want to talk about this because I can feel the rage build. You undoubtedly saw the joyousness, the celebration, the celebratory atmosphere of the Palestinians as those two babies were returned dead to Israel, and supposedly the mother. Turns out they didn't return the mother's body with her children. We don't know who it is, but it's not the mother. The Hamas leadership said that these two children and their mother were killed when an Israeli missile strike blew up where they were and their guards with them. The Israeli autopsy says that the two children were beaten to death. They were beaten to death. Now, I don't know about you, but given how often the Palestinians lie, I'm not willing to believe them. Given how much Hamas lies, I'm not willing to believe them. I don't want to give in to the rage of we should just level Gaza. There are innocent people who live there. There are people who do not like Hamas who live there. There are people who are threatened if you don't show up and perform, we'll kill you and your family. Some of the performance is not genuine. But also, A lot of it is. And there's a great deal of intellectual dishonesty when it comes to dealing with the situation, because there actually are a great many people who support Hamas in Gaza. They elected Hamas, after all. There are a whole lot of people in Gaza who support the monsters. There is such hatred and such hostility. I have friends who are Palestinians who hate the Israelis. And they have a long list of grievances. And Israel has, in some ways, at sometimes, not been the good guy. But also, the reason Israel has, in some ways, at sometimes not been the good guy is because the Palestinians have repeatedly wanted to kill the Israelis, and many of the Arab nations have wanted to kill the Israelis. And they've managed to kill these two babies, beating them to death. The rumor from the White House is that Donald Trump saw this and decided that Hamas needed to be eradicated. Have you ever seen Schindler's List? Have you ever seen Schindler's List? The Rose. If you've never seen Schindler's List and you're an adult, you should see Schindler's List. You will only want to see it once. If you want to see it repeatedly, there might be something wrong with you. You might not want to see it the first time, but you should see it once. Every human adult should see Schindler's List at least once. Whether you want to or not, you should see it. It is a true story. And there's the rose. That red rose. Like those red-headed children. Schindler's List is a black and white movie. Except for one red rose. And you see that red rose in the hand of a little girl who is rounded up and taken to the concentration camp. And then you see that red rose in that pile of dead bodies where that little girl was dead. It's the only color in the movie. These two children were captured by Hamas on October 7th. And they were held for God knows how long before being beaten to death. There were people in Germany in World War II who hid the Jews. People who protected and helped the Jews. Mothers and fathers who knew it was wrong. And many of the Nazis who were complicit in what they did would drink themselves to sleep at night to drown out the horrors that they knew they were doing. No Palestinian moms or dads protected those babies. The Palestinians are not drowning their sorrows at night. They're celebrating the beating of two children, the beating to death of two children. They couldn't even bother to send home the right body of the mother. Why do these people deserve a nation? Why do they deserve a nation? I don't know that there can be peaceful coexistence with monsters who beat toddlers to death. I don't know that there should be peaceful coexistence. I don't know that we should give a nation state to a bunch of people who murder children the way Hamas murdered these children. The Palestinians, you must acknowledge, elected Hamas to leadership. Once they got there, yes, they exterminated their opposition and they've refused to let go of power, but many of the Palestinians are dancing in the streets celebrating the death of these babies. Some coerced, not all of them. I'm not down with the mushroom cloud over Gaza. The winds would blow that radioactive waste in every direction. But I wonder what should be done with a group of people who celebrate the murder of two little children who were kidnapped. There were Nazis who protected the Jews. There are no Palestinians protecting the Jews in Gaza. There were Nazis who knew what they did was wrong and would not cheer. There was a lot of cheering in Gaza over those dead babies. I think it demands a response. I think it provokes a response. It provokes a real rage in me. I tell y'all, God's got this. He's in control. Don't be angry. Read to the end of the book. I know how the last day ends. I'm on the winning team. Let not your heart be troubled. I can preach that to myself all day, and there is just rage. Rage. Furiousness at what they did. It's not just the babies. All the others. They shot some in the back of the head. They weren't escaping. They just shot them in the back of the head because they were consuming resources. They were mouths to feed at a time Israel was going after the supplies for Hamas. They were just Jews to Hamas. Nothing more than dogs, not human beings. How easy it is for Hamas to take personhood away from a Jewish person. I'm not sure why we should allow Gaza to exist. What do you do? How do you respond? How do you take action against a group of monsters who did what they did? Amos is the first written prophet in the Bible. He went from Judah up to Israel to announce judgment on Israel. But before he announced judgment on Israel, he announced judgment on the other nations. Gaza has existed that long. For 3 transgressions of Gaza and for 4 I will not revoke the punishment, because they carried into exile a whole people to deliver them up to Edom. So I will send a fire upon the wall of Gaza, and it shall devour her strongholds. I will cut off the inhabitants from Ashdod, and him who holds the scepter from Ashkelon. I will turn his hand against Ekron, and the remnant of the Philistines shall perish, says the Lord God Almighty. I get the sentiment. I get the sentiment. Because right now, I got to tell you, I wouldn't mind seeing a fire upon the wall of Gaza and it's devouring its stronghold. I would not, at this point in my rage, seeing the remnant of the Philistines perish. And I know there are good people there. I have a friend who is a Presbyterian minister who, his family's Palestinian. His family lives in Gaza. He's no friend of the Jews, but he's no friend of Hamas. His family lives there. They're terrorized as much by Hamas as by Israel. feel horrible for them. What a horrible situation to be in, particularly of people who have no escape from their masters. It's like the Iranian people, unable to escape from the horrible Iranian leadership. I don't know that I have an answer other than what my rage feeds me, which is not good. God's got this too, I guess. I guess that's what I got to tell myself. I guess I got to tell myself, yeah, all things work for the good of those called according to his purpose. I don't know how. I don't know why. It seems unjust. It seems horrible. It seems cruel. It seems to be without mercy, and it makes my blood boil, and I wish to take revenge myself in some capacity, and I hope Israel does. Maybe that's the sinner in me speaking, but I got to tell you, they beat those two babies to death. And I wouldn't be upset if Israel went into eye for an eye mode.
Honest.
Putting your trust in me to tell you what's going on.
Transparent.
I need you to know this from the bottom of my heart.
Giving you the information without the noise.
My job isn't to tell you what you want to hear, it's to tell you the truth.
It's the Eric Erickson Show.
120 Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. New crash in Gwinnett County heading into Norcross out of Duluth. It is 85 southbound, Indian Trail Road, exit 101. It's in the second left lane. Starting to see some brake lights fill in behind that. Once you get past that, you'll slow again. 85 southbound, especially in those right lanes past Jimmy Carter Boulevard. Trying to ramp onto 285 west, the outer loop, all due to that construction on 285 westbound, right around Beaufort Highway. Multiple right lanes are blocked there. And a stall pushed off to the right in Marietta, 75 northbound at Delk Road, exit number 261. Traffic brought to you by Whole Foods Market. Awaken your taste buds during their Fire Up Asia event at Whole Foods Market with deals on produce, marinated proteins, snacks, and more through February 25th. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
If you have the WSB radio app.
If you have the WSB
all
app.
the notifications you
If
need.
you have the WSB app.
All the local and breaking news alerts you need.
Breaking news in Cobb County.
All in one place.
We'll send out an alert on the WSB app.
The 95.5 WSB app.
Download it from your app store today.
Hi, I'm David Nicholas, financial advisor and president of Nicholas Wealth Management. It's hard to imagine, but one day in retirement, your income will stop. You may have been working for 30 or 40 years, but now you'll have to depend on the money you've saved for the next 30 years. How do you know if you've saved enough? What does it mean to spend confidently in retirement? One of the worst things that you can do is get to retirement and not know how much income your investments can produce. At Nicholas Wealth, we created a plan that will show you what your investments can potentially generate in dividends, interest, and growth in retirement. We call this our Spend Confidently plan. When's the best time to turn on Social Security? What are some of the best dividend-paying stocks available? Our CPAs and CFPs will show you what your income number is and how a diversified portfolio of income-producing investments could potentially provide you consistent monthly income. Our Retire Ready Income Report, it's a $1,000 value. We'll provide it completely complimentary if you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement and you give us a call in the next 10 minutes. Number to call is 404-890-5606. That's 404-890-5606, or you can go to nicholaswealth.com.
Nicholas Wealth is an independent financial services firm that uses a variety of different investment strategies. This is prepared for informational purposes only. It does not address specific investment objectives or the financial situation and the needs of any person. This is a paid advertisement.
Hey, it's your buddy Shelley Winter here, co-host of The Car Guys with my good friend and brother, Kevin Deutsch, from Butler Lexus of South Atlanta. Whatever you want to know about buying, selling, leasing, or maintaining a vehicle, Kevin has your answers.
That's right, Shelley. For over 40 years, I've sold, leased, fixed, and financed pretty much every make and model. I've seen it all. If you have any car questions, we'll have the answers every Saturday at noon.
It's The Car Guys, Saturdays at noon on 95.5 WSB, brought to you by Butler Lexus of South Atlanta.
Belinda here for Atlanta Vision Institute. I'm here to introduce you to a new procedure that Dr. Ashraf is performing called laser optics. This changed my life, folks. I was so tired of wearing contacts and glasses. The glasses were not around when I needed them. I had astigmatism, so the contacts didn't fit me well, and I had beginning stages of cataracts. So I went in. I was a great candidate for laser optics. It was a quick quick, painless procedure. The next day, it was like everything was in HD. The colors were more vibrant. The leaves were more vibrant. The sky was more vibrant. My husband was better looking. Everything was great. Laser Optics with Dr. Ashraf, Atlanta Vision Institute. Go to the website 2020atlanta.com to find out more information. Also, take the quiz to see if this is a procedure that's good for you. Your medical insurance may cover it. That's 2020atlanta.com.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
You may not agree with him, but he tells you the truth. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
Yes, it is. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I'd be happy to have you on the show, assuming we're still having gremlins in the works today. Folks, it's just one of those things. My goodness gracious. That's all right. We got plenty to talk about. I still want to talk about the Doge cuts, and I will do that when we come back. The primary reason I'm not right now is because it's a short segment, and I got a lot to say on it. So let me just say this. ABC News is running a story, and you will love the headline. This is actually the tweet. Among the hardest hit when devastating fires tore through Los Angeles in January were transgender and non-binary residents in transitional housing programs. I'm not making that up. In the midst of the crisis, here's how the community came together. It's not predictable that this is where it would wind up. That it's the trans and non-binary community. They were the hardest hit. Not the families that have 5 or 6 kids and had to leave behind a vehicle and all their belongings and all their kids' toys and memories and the wedding albums and all that. No. It's the transgender and non-binary residents in transitional housing programs who lost more than just their belongings because it destroyed their safe space. This is Good Morning America's coverage. I'm not surprised. I mean, honestly, which among you are surprised that they would take this? But it's just, it's actually, I would say, it has a little surreal to me. It goes perfectly to where the media is right now, where the American media does not understand how they're not even disrespected in this moment. It's a clown show. Nobody takes them seriously. It's not a matter of respect. It's a matter of seriousness. Everyone knows exactly how the media is going to cover these stories. Forget the families whose kids, all their belongings were gone, their large families, their homes destroyed, all that. No. It's the transgender and non-binary residents who are the hardest hit. Wow. Well, I don't want you to be hard hit by bad smells in your house, including smoke odors. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack, you get 3 of them for less than $200 and save $200 at EdenPureDeals.com. All you do is go to EdenPureDeals.com, use the discount code ERICK3, ERICK3, and you'll be able to get 3 Eden Pure Thunderstorms. You'll be able to get them for less than $200. You'll save $200 and they will wipe out any odor. I had one with me on my trip. I didn't need it because I was staying at a very swanky hotel, but I keep one in my travel bag because you can hold it in the palm of your hand. It plugs into the wall. You can use it with a USB cord, however you need to, and it just works. It wipes out odors and kills 99.9% of bacteria and viruses, and it gets rid of pet dander, it gets rid of pollen, it gets rid of dust, and it's filterless. You don't have to buy a filter subscription. You get 3 of them, save $200. You go to EdenPureDeals.com, and you use the discount code ERIC3, ERICK3 at EdenPureDeals.com.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's news and talk.
It is 1:30. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. This just in. The case against a North Georgia mom who was arrested last fall after her 10-year-old son was spotted walking alone to the store. Well, we've just learned the case against her has been dropped. Brittany Patterson made national headlines after her arrest. But again, that case now dropped. The man accused of gunning down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson will be in court this afternoon. Next hour, in fact. Luigi Mangioni's first court appearance is this afternoon since pleading not guilty in December. Legal contributor Shanna Lloyd says Mangioni has a team of lawyers.
It's a very robust team. There's a number of attorneys that are working on his defense, which is going to give them a bit of an advantage when we talk about discovery requests and how they're processing motions. It does allow for the work to be distributed a little bit better.
A trial date could be set, so check back for updates. 1 year ago tomorrow, Laken Riley was killed jogging on the University of Georgia campus in Athens. Her death sparking calls for more campus security. And Daniel Silk, public safety there at the University of Georgia, says that they have made a lot of improvements since that tragedy.
The increase in campus safety ambassadors, overall 21% increase in police personnel, a 28% increase in the number of students and parents and employees who have signed up for the UGA Safe app. There's a lot of good things going on.
And the man who killed Riley, Jose Ibarra, was convicted and sentenced to life without parole. The Georgia Technology Authority adding to the list of sites that are banned on the state's network. Among the additions are the Chinese-owned RedNote, a social media app similar to TikTok, and DeepSeek AI, which is the Chinese artificial intelligence company set up to compete with ChatGPT. TikTok has already been banned on state devices. And there's been an arrest in the theft of former University of Georgia quarterback Carson Beck's automobiles. Police have arrested Taekwon Anderson in Miami for stealing Beck's Lamborghini and Mercedes. Police still looking for 3 other suspects. It's 1:32.
Looking to get organized in style? The brand new Artisan Custom Closets showroom is now open near Trilip Studios in Fayetteville. Step inside and explore stunning closet designs, stylish finishes, and smart storage solutions. All crafted with superior quality. From closets to garages, pantries, mudrooms, and home offices, we create spaces that work for you. Come see, touch, and experience the Artisan difference. Meet with a designer for your free consultation and start your custom project today. Artisan Custom Closets, now open near Trilip Studios in Fayetteville.
There's a new optimism in the air, and we think investors like you might have the best year ever. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. Last year, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Everyday folks from all walks of life have enjoyed 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of small businesses right here at home. If you're a qualified investor and have a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest rates. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. We believe this is going to be a special year and a great year. We've got the projects. Now we need partners like you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and see if our First Liberty notes are right for you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com. That's FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. Purchasers must verify their SEC accredited investor status. Securities are not being offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
February is Heart Health Month, and there's no better time to take care of your heart. This is Scott Slade. It's the perfect month to call Virtual Imaging and get your free heart scan to help you stay ahead of heart disease before you even know there's a problem. You've been hearing us talk about how Virtual Imaging's free heart scan can save lives. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in the United States, and any problem with your heart that you can detect early means you have a better chance of living a longer life. Call Virtual Imaging today and get your free heart scan. What are you waiting for? Call 770-678-SCAN. It's quick, painless, and you'll get a clearer picture of your heart's health so you know where you stand. And it's a great way to mark Heart Health Month. Don't wait until it's too late. Call Virtual Imaging now and schedule your free heart scan with a few minimum requirements. It's quick, easy, and could save your life. I've done it. Call 770-678-SCAN. That's 770-678-SCAN. Because your heart deserves it. If not for yourself, do it for your family.
Live team coverage of traffic and weather, Alex Williams.
And we just had all lanes shut down in Marietta, 75 northbound Delk Road exit 261. Got a crash that was in the left lanes, now on the right shoulder. You're slow from 285. Traffic trooper Brad says also causing southbound onlooker delays through Marietta. And checking on a new crash, 75 south coming out of Ackworth right around Wade Green Road exit 273. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Mostly sunny but staying chilly today. High 46. That's turning about 15 degrees below average. Lows tonight in the mid-20s.
More news at 2 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
To tell you the truth, because the truth is what matters. You're listening to The Eric Erickson Show.
Greetings. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. I have a sneaking suspicion the saboteurs are at work against Doge. What do I mean by that? Well, they fired park employees. Doge ordered employees to be fired, but randomly, who do you think lost their jobs? Wasn't the low-level underlings. They fired the one locksmith. That's right. The one locksmith who can unlock all the doors that need to be unlocked. They fired that guy in one park, and then in I think it was the Yellowstone. I think it was Yellowstone. They fired the gate attendants to cause backlogs into the park, which is kind of an eye-opening tell that they're out trying to sabotage the effort. They're out essentially the people making the decisions with inside the government. They're actually trying to inconvenience your life. So yeah, this is one of the tweets I was looking for. In the winter, Yellowstone has 451 people directly employed by the National Park Service, according to the government. In the summer, it's 741 people. So who did the National Park Service decide to fire? They fired the only locksmith. Grand Canyon National Park has 382 employees. They couldn't find anyone to work the most popular entrance. In other words, the employees are sabotaging the effort. They're trying to build outrage over the effort. They're trying to get the public inconvenienced enough that the public itself gets furious. Now, it's not just that. So Rich McCormick is a friend of mine and the congressman for Georgia's 7th Congressional District. Rich McCormick, do you remember in the 1990s, there was at the time, it was a very famous ad for the Marines, and it was the chess player on the board. That, if you remember that ad, you can Google it, the knight who turns into the Marine on the chessboard, that was Rich McCormick in the ad. He was a Marine helicopter pilot. He's a doctor, emergency room doctor. He's now a member of Congress. Great guy. Just a wonderful human being. Rich McCormick is not afraid to have a town hall. And in Roswell, Georgia, Rich McCormick in his district, which is the northern Atlanta suburbs, he's in a very Republican district. He had a town hall, and people showed up to complain about the cuts. People showed up to heckle him. People showed up to protest him. People showed up to complain. This is the coverage from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Headline, Georgia congressman confronted by angry crowd over support for Trump's agenda. U.S. Representative Rich McCormick was peppered with boos and catcalls throughout a town hall meeting in Roswell late Thursday as hundreds critics jeered the Republican for backing Donald Trump's agenda during his first month in office. The Suwannee Republican staff expected a robust turnout for his first town hall since Trump took office, but they seemed caught off guard by the massive crowd of hundreds that gathered. Attendees set the tone early, with one accusing McCormick of doing us a disservice for supporting the budget-slashing initiatives of Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency that have torn through all corners of the federal government. You don't think I'm going to stand up for you, asked McCormick, as the crowd responded with boos. Pressed on what he'll do to rein in the megalomaniac of the White House, McCormick brought up President Biden's tenure. When you talk about tyranny, when you talk about presidential power, I remember having the same discussion with Republicans when Biden was elected. He then compared the attendees to January 6ers who were yelling just as loud as you, a reference to the Trump mob that attacked the Capitol. That triggered a fresh outburst from the crowd, insulted by the comparison. Pushed to answer the question, McCormick said, I don't want any president to be too powerful. This is a mob of progressives who decided to show up. They organized online and they showed up. Now, McCormick's district is something like 60-some-odd% Republican. The data overwhelmingly shows nationally that voters are fine bringing the pain to Washington, D.C. Voters are fine with these cuts. It's Democrats who aren't. And Democrats are now trying to cause a spectacle to get attention, to try to drive news stories that the cuts are deeply unpopular, and they're not. So what's going on at the same time is, as Charlie says, it's malicious compliance. They're doing what they can do to make it as painful as possible when the cuts come, so that people will argue, well, we really can't cut anything. It's beyond our ability to cut anything. The Trump administration fired the only locksmith on staff at Yosemite National Park. He was the sole employee with the keys and the institutional knowledge needed to rescue visitors from locked restrooms. The wait to enter Arizona's Grand Canyon National Park this past weekend was twice as long as usual after the administration let go 4 employees who worked at the south entrance, where nearly 90% of the park's nearly 5 million annual visitors pass through. And at Gettysburg National Military Park in Pennsylvania, last week's widespread layoffs gutted the team that managed reservations for renting historic farmhouses. Visitors received notifications that their reservations had been canceled indefinitely. Is it DOJ doing the firing, or are they telling the National Park Service, you got to fire people? My suspicion is they're telling the National Park Service, here are the number of people you need to let go, and the people of the National Park Service are maliciously trying to fire the people most disruptive to business so they can say, oh, we can't fire anyone. Every job is essential. It's malicious compliance. They're trying to make it painful. You know, when the Republicans and Barack Obama, they caused a government shutdown. When Obama was in office, Obama shut down everything in Washington, all the parks. Obama posted law enforcement officials so you could not even walk on the National Mall. He wanted it to be as painful as possible. The Smithsonian was shut down. The monuments were shut down. Everything was shut down. When Donald Trump was president and there was a government shutdown, the Smithsonian stayed open, the malls stayed open, the monuments stayed open. It was a night and day difference. What Obama wanted to do is he wanted to extract maximum pain on the public so the public would be mad at the Republicans. Donald Trump showed all that stuff could stay open. If you wanted to stay open, it could stay open. Now you've got DOJ coming in and trying to reduce the size and scope of government, root out waste, fraud, and abuse, and its key employees are getting fired. Now, some of it, to be fair, is DOJ. They're moving so fast. Remember, the motto Elon Musk uses is move quickly, move fast, and break things. Broken things can be fixed, he says. They fired the people who do infectious disease tracing. So they fired the team that's overseeing the national bird flu response. That was on DOJ. They fired the guys who oversee our nuclear arsenal. That was on DOJ. They fired people they didn't know they dealt with, or what they dealt with. But it's not all on them. It's not all on them. It's also on the bureaucrats who were charged with the staffing of the firing, and those people are distinctly trying to find the most burdensome people to fire so that the public feels the pain, because they don't think any job in the federal government is expendable. Everyone in the federal government is indispensable. Doge got his work cut out for it. Now, at the same time, I got to say this as well. I'm not a big fan of this $5,000 check Elon Musk is floating. Let's send every American $5,000. I want the national debt paid down. I want the deficit reduced. I don't think every American needs that money. I don't know per se that it would be inflationary because you're taking money already spent, you're just redirecting where it's spent. But if you take that money out of circulation, it will have an effect on fighting inflation. Instead of keeping it in the economy, you pull it out of the economy, you pay down the debt, you're going to help fight inflation. I don't think we need $5,000 checks. I think we could avoid a fiscal crisis by putting that money to better use. I realize that Elon Musk is saying we need to show Americans the tangible benefits of this, but bribing us essentially to go along with the cuts when we got a fiscal crisis on the horizon and should be dealing with that, I think is more important. Likewise, I also think you've got to understand that for all the claims about fighting waste, fraud, and abuse, the Doge team does not have as much to show for it as it does claim. Now, I realize they got a website and they've got data here, but here's the point I'm making. When Congress appropriates money for it to be spent, it's got to be spent. There's a fight headed to the Supreme Court on this. Donald Trump thinks he cannot spend the money, but the Supreme Court several times has said, no, you have to spend the money. If it's appropriated by Congress, you can't not spend the money. So what Doge needs to do is collect all this stuff, go to Congress and do what's called a rescission bill. Saying, hey, Congress, we spent $100,000 on a lesbian acting troupe in Burma. Rescind the money. We spent $1 million teaching men to do circumcisions in Mozambique. Rescind the money. If we don't rescind the money's still out there to be spent. Doge needs to now work with the Trump administration to get legislation put forward to Congress to actually rescind the money and make the Democrats vote against it if they're so hostile to Doge. Make the Democrats stand up for teaching men in Mozambique to have circumcisions. Make the Democrats stand up for the lesbian acting troupe in Burma. Make the Democrats take those painful votes and expose them as being not serious people. And you kill two birds with one stone. Not only does Doge expose the waste, fraud, and abuse, but you put Democrats in difficult votes because the Democrats don't actually want to cut the spending. But in the meantime, what we're seeing, what's happening is that Doge itself can only go so far. It can highlight the money. It just can't stop it from being spent. It can downsize the workforce. But if it's not picking the people to be downsized, when the bureaucrats pick those people, they're finding the most painful people to lose to try to stop more layoffs. Doge might need to be just a little smarter in how it operates. Mark, you're going to be up next on the show. Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show. Mark, how are you?
Oh, hey, Eric, how are you? Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Hey, I'd just like to say some stuff about what Trump's been doing relative to Ukraine and Doge, and hopefully I can get in a quick message about what my congressman said on a telephone town hall this week. And I just want to say, kind of reading off my own script here, so it sounds a little scripty, is not going to try to say this to agree with what Trump's been saying about Ukraine or that Doge has all been running smoothly. I would do a lot of things differently than the president and his folks. But what gets me is a lot of complaints from the Europeans, complaints from people complaining about Doge. And to me, it's all sort of a position of when you sit around, you don't solve a problem, you get Trump. And that's the way it's been. In Europe, allies, including us, never really tried to beat Putin. So 3 years, death, destruction, billions of dollars and euros and such spent. For what? Not a win, not a loss. That's how you get Trump. And also, as far as the spending, trillions of dollars of debt and performance that people don't really like from our government, that's how you get Trump. So
yeah,
I would do different. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. I agree with you. And I don't think that people understand this. You know, it was one of the meetings I had yesterday was if you really want to understand why we are where we are with Trump, it's that Americans rebelled against the elite who promised that they could take care of our problems, and they didn't take care of our problems. In fact, they made them worse. So you got Trump.
One thing, too, I was just reading a little bit just now about something Zelensky said to Ukrainian media, and he's saying that, yes, the allies stopped Putin, but in his words, to put him in his place, to hit him over the hands, the world couldn't manage it. This, frankly, surprises me. It's not the lack of capability, but a failure of will. And those are Zelensky's words. and he's right. You know,
Yeah.
we played around, didn't do anything, and we think it's cute. It is good that we're weakening Putin. We think we've done something, but also at the same time, he's weakening us because we're running out of stuff, and I don't think we're really putting stuff back like we're for our own use, like we're supposed to. So I think we're going to sit around in that problem, and we could catch ourselves without the equipment and the ammunition such that we need in case somebody takes us on or somebody that we support. So we need to be careful when we talk about weakening Putin. We are. He's also weakening us quite a bit too. So we need to be careful with that.
I'm glad you raised that last part, Mark, because, so for everybody to understand this, Mark, thanks for the call. The way this was always structured is we're giving Ukraine our old stuff. They are buying it from us. We lend them the money. They buy back our old stuff. We use that money to build the new stuff for us. The problem is our supply chain sucks. We're not building at the pace we need to build. We can barely build ships. We're struggling to build missiles. The upside of the Ukrainian war for us is that it has shown us our weaknesses. The downside is that it has shown we have no will to fix those weaknesses. That's a problem. Hillsdale College actually has some pretty good classes on things like this, the supply chain economics, the military theory. You can take all their classes for free. They've got about 40 different ones to choose from. They're video lectures by some of Hillsdale's best professors. Go to Eric, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com today. Sign up for Hillsdale College's lectures, and you can get educated on stuff that you want to learn about, whether it's the Constitution or Christianity, whether it's literature or chemistry, economics, military strategy, and philosophy. They've got about 40 classes across an array of subjects for you to choose from. You go to ericforhillsdale.com, you sign up. You do them at your own pace. They're video lectures. Each one's about 30 minutes long, depending on the class. The episodes may be 6, maybe 12, but you do it at your own pace, and you learn about something you're interested in from the reliable, good historians and professors at Hillsdale College. They do this because they've been committed since the 1800s to educate Americans wherever they are. And they'll educate you on your couch or in front of your computer by video lecture. You do it at your own pace. There is not a single charge. It's completely free. Go to ericforhillsdale.com today. Sign up now.
Those who love him, listen to find out what he's going to say next. Those who disagree with him, also listen to see what he's going to say next. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
152 Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Stalled big rig coming out of Ackworth. It's in the right lane. 75 southbound, Wade Green Road, exit 273. That's why you're slow back up at Highway 92. Also crash pushed off to the right at Marietta. 75 northbound at Delk Road, exit 261. Road work in 3 right lanes in Dorville. 285 westbound, the outer loop at Buford Highway. Traffic brought to you by Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Learn more about their support of Common Threads and nutrition education at anthem.com/dream. Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield is the trade name of Blue Cross Blue Shield Healthcare Plan of Georgia, Inc. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
Everyone has an opinion.
Your baby is ugly.
Eric Von Hessler has an opinion.
I abhor violence. Unless it's on the football field, where it belongs.
And some advice.
A meme coin, of course, something I don't really understand. Don't ever buy one. There you go. I just gave you some great advice.
Eric Von Hessler, today at 3.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
When it comes to beautiful, they wrote the book. Siding, paint, windows, and doors gives your home a brand new look.
At Superior Pro, we use the highest quality materials and the best techniques in windows, siding, painting, doors, and more. Plus, all our projects come with an extended labor warranty. Visit SuperiorPro.com for a free in-home design consultation.
Superior Pro, the pros to know.
So what's going on with the market regarding interest rates? This is Scott Slade. Seems each week we're getting new predictions. If you've been waiting for the right time to buy a new house or refinance, the time is now. And here's why. Talking to my friends at Myland about this, they bring up a good point. Imagine rates drop by a full percentage point. What do you think will happen to home prices? They're likely to go up even higher. We'll be back in bidding wars. So the home you're considering buying today could actually be more expensive, even though the rate might be lower. The best option is to act now. Buy the home you want, and remember that Myland will have your back once rates come down. Myland makes the refinance process easy, and they'll be there to help you lower your payment when the timing is right. Call Myland. 770-817-2000. That's 770-817-2000. Online, it's myland.com, spelled it M-I-L-E-N-D. NMLS in Georgia Residential Mortgage Licensee 148769, located at 8995 West Side Parkway, Alpharetta, Georgia 30009. Myland is an equal housing lender.
JIC, Flat Face Seal, BSP, and DIN. If you know what these are, then listen up.
I'm Victoria Holloway. We can replicate hose assembly on site with Mobile Hydraulics of Georgia.
Call 770-HYD-HOSE or try our website, HYDHOSE.com.
Dave Baker here for Coolray Heating and Cooling, Plumbing and Electrical. Let's show our home some love this month. Coolray can help with great deals like $50 off any electrical service, 10% off any plumbing repair, and up to $2,250 in rebates on new Carrier heating and cooling systems. Your house will get the expert service it needs, so you'll stay comfortable all season long. Simply go to Coolray.com and book your appointment for the day and time that works best for you. Coolray and Carrier. Turn to the experts.
WSB Atlanta, WSBB FM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Hey everyone, it's your buddy Shelly Winter here. Join me this Saturday at noon for the Car Guys with Kevin Deutsch from Butler Lexus of South Atlanta. Buy or lease, fix or sell, everything you want to know about cars, we will cover Saturday noon to 1 right here on 95.5 WSB.
At Coosa Valley Credit Union, we're committed to offering our members the most competitive interest rates in the market. Now, auto loan rates are as low as 4.49%. This is Andy Harris, President of Coosa Valley Credit Union, inviting you to come see us at a branch near you.
Equal Opportunity Lender.
Your roof has been impacted. Heavy rain, strong winds, damaging storms. Home Fix-It show host Dave Baker here. I recommend you get a free roof analysis from my award-winning roofer, Findlay Roofing. No obligation, no charge. FindlayRoofing.com.
Roof. All the news, weather, and traffic you need. 95.5
Join Eric's Army of
WSB.
Activists. Text ARMY to 33777 now.
Hello there, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here this Open Line Friday. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program. Y'all, I know more than one person who, several of whom are friends of mine, including the late Tim Keller, died of pancreatic cancer. It is a pretty common cancer, and it is one of the most deadly cancers. It's got like a 5% 5-year survivability. Well, Nature magazine has a study out that bespoke vaccines are eliciting long-lived immunity activity against pancreatic cancer. Cancer vaccines must induce immune cells called CD8 plus T cells that can recognize cancer cells over the long term. In pancreatic cancer, RNA vaccines that encode neoantigens, mutant proteins found only in cancer cells, induced substantial numbers of long-lived T cells with preserved function, and their presence correlates with better clinical outcomes at a 3-year follow-up. Now, that's a fancy way of saying that scientists have been able to engineer specific cells to trigger a specific response to cancer in the pancreas through an injection, which is remarkable progress. And I got to say again, for all the bashing of Big Pharma, for all the conspiracy theories, we're on the verge of a major medical breakthrough that will save the lives of a lot of people. Pancreatic cancer is one of the most fatal cancers, and we're on the verge of being able to fight it for the long term and treat it as a chronic condition, which is absolutely remarkable. Don't be careful when you bash Big Pharma, when you bash science. Scientists are making remarkable progress here. When we come back, your phone calls, we got a lot more to talk about as well, including Stacey Abrams.
A
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-935-6077. 800-935-6077. 800-935-6077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
News,
weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 2 o'clock, I'm Jonathan O'Brien. This news brought to you by Bread Beckers. Our top local story, tort reform. Governor Kemp's effort to push to reform the state's litigation rules clears a major hurdle as the state Senate votes to advance the first of 2 bills on the issue.
On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 33 and the nays are 21. This bill, having received requisite constitutional majorities, therefore passed by substitute.
Kemp has made this his top legislative priority this session. Democrats have pushed back on the effort, saying it benefits insurance companies. The measure now goes to the House. 40 degrees here in Midtown Atlanta, mostly sunny but chilly, and turn on those electric blankets tonight. WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards has Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast coming up. Atlanta police say they are investigating a shooting in southwest Atlanta. They confirm the incident happened near Pryor Street and I-20. One person has been taken to the hospital in critical condition. We're working to learn more. Stay with WSB for updates. Happening this hour, 26-year-old Luigi Mangione, the suspect accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, is set to appear in a New York courtroom. Katrina Kaufman says that we're likely to get an update on the status of the case.
We're anticipating the judge could set a timeline for pretrial documents, evidence, as well as for potentially setting the trial date.
He faces life in prison without parole if convicted. Stay with WSB for updates. Pope Francis's medical team says the pontiff's condition isn't life-threatening, but they say the 88-year-old isn't out of danger yet. Francis has been in the hospital with pneumonia and chronic bronchitis for a week now. He's expected to stay hospitalized for at least another week. President Trump's layoffs are having a big impact on the Atlanta-based CDC. Workers and lawmakers were at the Capitol today to sound the alarm. They say the cuts put people at risk.
It's a complete chaos. It's not about efficiency. It's not about anything else.
Somewhere between 700 and 1,300 CDC employees were laid off. The Trump administration is planning a new strategy to combat soaring egg prices. Instead of wiping out whole flocks of chickens due to a single case of the bird flu, it would be more targeted. The average price of a dozen eggs hit $4.95 in January, and the USDA expects that price to jump another 20% this year. And a measles outbreak in rural West Texas has grown to 90 cases across 7 counties with 16 people hospitalized. Nearly all of the cases involve children and teens. Texas daycare owner Michael Sandoval is keeping a close eye on the growing outbreak.
We've known about it, prepping for it, just kind of doing the same things that we normally do when it comes to sickness.
There are also now 9 confirmed measles cases in nearby New Mexico. Health officials don't believe the 2 outbreaks are connected. It's 2:02. We'll check traffic and weather next.
You've probably heard that constipation and IBS can all be related to a lack of fiber in your diet. Hi, it's Sue from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minute. If you or someone you know suffers from constipation or IBS, let the Bread Beckers show you the way to more fiber and regularity and to better health without swallowing a pill or a bad-tasting drink. At the Bread Beckers store in Woodstock, we can teach you how to make real, delicious bread loaded with fiber from real whole grains. A healthy, affordable, and delicious solution for your family that can change your life. This is not like the enriched bread you buy at the grocery store. It's real bread. I have a degree in food science, and for more than 30 years, I've studied the incredible health benefits of whole grains and real bread. So if you're struggling with bowel issues, high cholesterol, warts, or kids who seem to be constantly sick, take the first steps to a healthier life. Visit onlyrealbread.com. The Bread Beckers, onlyrealbread.com.
I received a call one time, and the man said, "You probably won't call me back because I'm just a nobody." I immediately called him back. Nobody's a nobody.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. I always wanted to be the lawyer who represented the little guy, the voiceless, the powerless.
I was rear-ended by a car probably doing about 50, 55 miles an hour. My car caught on fire. I'm a paraplegic, so I couldn't get out of the car. They were struggling to get me out of the vehicle. After the accident, I gave Morgan & Morgan a call, and they understood what I was going through, and they were there to help me each step of the way. It made me feel that I had people behind my back to help me and resolve the case.
I represented him, and we did well because we get the chance to help people put their lives back together and to go on as best they can after a life-altering day. There's only one you, there's only one Morgan & Morgan. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Winter is Atlanta's rainy season with nearly 14 inches of rainfall on average, and all that rain may be leaking into your basement. Christina Edwards here. If you notice cracks in your concrete wall or wet spots on the ground, my guys at American Crawl Space Solutions can diagnose and repair the problem. And they won't pressure you to make your decision on the spot like many other companies. AmericanCrawlSpaceSolutions.com, your best value for wet basement repair.
American Crawl Space Solutions. Foundations too.
It's 2:05, time for live team coverage of traffic and weather. Alex Williams in the WSB 24-hour traffic center.
Good afternoon, Jonathan. Still dealing with this stalled tractor trailer coming out of Ackworth into Kennesaw, 75 southbound, Wade Green Road, exit 273. It's in the right lane, so you hit the brakes right at Highway 92, exit 277. Ongoing road work in Doraville, a couple of right lanes knocked out, 285 westbound, the outer loop at Beaufort Highway, exit 32. That's slowing the 85 transitions onto 285 westbound as well. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Mostly sunny today, high 46. That's trending about 15 degrees below average. A hard freeze for tonight, lows in the mid-20s. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, high 52. The warm-up continues on Sunday with sunny skies. Morning low 30, afternoon high 56.
As you just heard from Christina, drip those faucets tonight. It's currently 42 degrees in Marietta, 43 degrees in Conyers, and it is mostly sunny out there right now, and 40 degrees here in Midtown Atlanta. More news coming up at 2:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Jonathan O'Brien, 95.5 WSB.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome, it's Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number this Open Line Friday is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, be very happy to have you. If you live in Georgia, text the word ENGAGE to 33777. Call your member of the State House of Representatives and tell them to stand with Dale Washburn. Repeal the speed cameras in front of schools. Now, I won't go in my long tirade about this. To do what? What do I need to do? Turn my levels up a little more. How about that? Is that good? Excellent. Y'all, we got a gremlin. The gremlin came in. It looked like a cute little thing, and they poured some water on it after midnight and fed it, and all hell has broken loose within the wires of our audio equipment. We cannot figure out the gremlin. It is spiting us. It has turned our Open Line Friday into an Open Container Friday here for the staff. I mean, it's about the only thing we can do. Now, okay. We have to move back, but now I've completely lost my train of thought. It is one of those days. So, okay. The speed cameras, just very quickly, because I keep getting asked this question by people. Why do you oppose them? It's school safety. So here's the problem with these cameras, and I don't want to spend time on this because it really is such a hyper-local issue, but it sticks in my craw. I've never gotten a ticket for one of these things. I don't drive by them. I go out of my way to avoid them. My problem is that we are a nation of laws, and our laws are to be enforced by men. When we outsource the enforcement of our laws to computers and cameras, what we are doing is we are departing from a system of laws governed by men to a system of laws applied the most efficient way to the most inefficiently situated people. What I mean by that is that in a system where a speed camera can give you a ticket, the professional class of people who have the time, capability, and connections to do it can very easily get themselves out of the tickets. It's the working class who don't have the time. So, for example, one of the major reasons to get rid of these tickets is because study after study and media report after media report has shown in Georgia, the way these speed cameras are supposed to work is they're only supposed to give you tickets during school hours. But a lot of municipalities have set them up to continue giving you tickets well past school hours. And the professional class knows they can write a letter. They have the time to write the letter and say, not me, not my ticket, wrong time of day, get rid of it, and it's gotten rid of. But the working class who are having to work 3 jobs to make a living, they don't have the time. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the connections. They don't have that. So essentially what we've done is by putting cameras around to give tickets to people, it's not just Georgia, there are lots of states that do it, you are ticketing the poor and the working class while the professionals are able to get out of it. You know, very notoriously, Washington, D.C. has speed cameras. Do you know where Washington, D.C. puts its speed cameras? Right on the line between Maryland and Virginia. In other words, Washington, D.C. is not ticketing the residents of Washington, D.C. with the cameras. They're ticketing the people who enter and exit Washington, D.C., the Virginians and the Marylanders who may not realize what's going on, and they ticket those people, and it's a source of revenue. And that's the then further problem with these cameras is that it becomes not about law enforcement, it becomes about revenue generation. And a law that is designed for safety but in practice is about revenue generation is a law people begin to disrespect. And when the elected officials disrespect you through the passage of disrespectful laws, you begin to disrespect the law. And we're already a society that's kind of careening in this way. And what I mean by that, careening in this way, a society that disrespects the law, disrespects order. I had this happen to me this morning. Go to your local airport. Go to your local airport and catch a flight. And watch the people when they say, if you need extra time to board, you're welcome to board now. And watch the people. In almost every case now, what you're going to find is people who there is nothing wrong with them, but they want to get on the plane ahead of time because there's limited baggage space, or they don't want to be inconvenienced by standing in line. They want to go on and get ahead. This morning, the poor lady was trying to enforce it. The gate attendant, the Delta gate attendant, was trying to enforce it. And she was just overwhelmed by people who just decided to get in line. And she finally had to berate everybody. Like, she was very nice about it, but she's like, folks, we're boarding by a zone and you have to be in your zone. But people took advantage of if you need extra time boarding, board now. And I got to tell you, as a person standing there watching the people who were boarding, many of them did not need extra time to board. They just wanted to. There were about 5 people, and I'm not including the wheelchair people. There was a lady who very clearly had an impediment when she walked. There was a guy with a cane. There was a couple with small children. But then there were people who, when they saw them boarding, just decided to get in line. And she, the flight attendant, tried to stop the first of these people. And he got very combative with her. So she let him go through and let the others go through. We've already got a societal breakdown in order, not just law, but in order, in manners, in character. I mean, it's not a coincidence. You got a lot of these guys on the right who for years said character counted, now they don't care anymore. And many of them, it's not because of Trump, it's because of their own deviancies. This is one of the unspoken, frustrating things that I see more and more. There are a lot of people on the right who used to say character counts, and now they've decided that because of their own deviancies, they're not going to stand up for character anymore. And it has nothing to do with, well, we like Trump, and so we're going to stand for Trump, and so we're going to stop talking about character because of Trump. No. It's because they've got their own skeletons in their closet they're afraid that are going to come out. So if they rush now to abandon character in the public square when their skeletons come out, they can say, well, I mean, who cares about character? It's just getting the job done. You see it on a daily basis with people who jump lines, with people who board airplanes who actually don't need extra time. We are beyond the tipping point of a time and age where people just don't respect law, let alone order. And I don't mean law and order separately, because those of you who need extra time board first isn't a law. It's a policy that airlines have put in place so that those who need extra time can board. But it's understood in doing that those of us who don't need extra time wait for when our row, our section, our zone is called, and yet the number of people who disrespect that and everyone else because they've decided they want to jump the line and get to their seat and hang out first, it's a sign of poor character in our nation. And I know it's such a silly little thing to talk about, but it actually is an issue, and it is a highlight, the number of people over the years where it's growing and growing and growing, more and more disrespect for things like that. It's a disrespect of your neighbor. It's a self-absorption, but it is also a sign that people really don't value character anymore. And how can people value character when the cultural and intellectual elite of the country have said character doesn't count anymore? As long as Harvey Weinstein was convenient and could keep it out of the headlines, everybody wanted him to make money for him. Character counted for politicians, except if those politicians could get you good things, who cares? I mean, for all of the people who degrade the Christian right for saying we'll go with Donald Trump despite our concerns about his character, these are the same people who were perfectly happy to defend Bill Clinton despite what Bill Clinton was doing, because Bill Clinton transactionally was giving them what they wanted. We've got multiple generations now of Americans who are driving character out of the conversation because everything has become transactional. And when everything becomes transactional, the rule of law breaks down and people's respect for the rule of law breaks down. And then that's where government decides, well, we're going to hand the rule of law over to a camera instead of a police officer. And that just further breaks down the rule of law because it becomes the wealthy are more likely to be able to get out of it than the poor. And it just becomes a revenue scheme. And law enforcement is not about enforcing the law and encouraging people to slow down. It's actually about hoping to catch speeders so that you can fund the general fund of your government. You justify it with the lie of public safety, and you reveal the truth of the lie by not actually using the money for public safety. It causes discredit on government. It breaks down the system of law and order. It seeds distrust and cynicism with the people against the state, and that's not healthy for society. It's really, really a problem. Now, hilariously, my sister just texted. She says, and your father would never admit to needing extra time. Y'all, God bless him. So I took my dad on a trip a while back to the airport, and I said, do you need like a wheelchair or something? No, I'm not getting a wheelchair. Only old people are in wheelchairs. My dad's in, well, let's just say my dad has celebrated like his 43rd anniversary of his 40th birthday. And so we get to the Atlanta airport. I went over to Louisiana, picked him up. We flew back. We were headed down to Orlando to see my Uncle Leaf. Yes, Leif Erickson, my dad's younger brother. And here comes this guy who passes us. He's being pushed by a Delta guy. The elderly gentleman is in a wheelchair, and my dad looks at me and says, Eric Woods, you mean I could have had that? I said, you could have had that. You could have, but you didn't want it, so now you got to walk. And he looked at me and says, well, why didn't you make me do it? I said, because you're my dad. I'm not going to make you do it. Then he turns around at me again, and he looks, and he says, only old people do that anyway. I'm like, we could be first on the plane if you would just allow this. Like my wife and the cancer card. Y'all, I use the cancer card more than my wife. It's one of my frustrations. I was telling some friends this the other day. I'm like, you want to get out of it. You don't feel good. Just tell people, no, I can't come. I don't feel good. People will understand. You have stage 4 lung cancer. My wife abhors the idea of telling people she can't do something because she feels bad. And I'm like, they'll understand. Pull out the cancer card. She will not do it. I got to throw it out. We can't do this. She had a chemo reaction. My father and my wife are similarly situated in that they do not want the extra privilege of boarding early or getting out of doing something because they don't feel good. It is a source of pride for them that they do not use that excuse. For the rest of us, we're like, throw down the cancer card, get us out of going to this thing, or yes, say you're old and you need extra time to board so we can get on first. They are not going to do it. God bless them for it. It's actually a sign of their good character. Father, if you're listening, I'm praising your character on national radio for not cutting the line, claiming that you're old and need extra time, even though some of us wish that we would let you do it and you would let yourself do it so we could get on the plane first. But seriously, I did not intend to go on this tirade, but you know what I'm talking about. We're seeing it more and more. It is more and more pervasive in society where there is a complete disrespect for the rule of law. And when so many of our politicians are clearly themselves disrespectful of the law and writing laws that are disrespectful of the people, and you know the wealthy can get out of the law and the poor can't, it breaks down the social compact. It breaks down the social compact because people realize that the way the laws are written are designed for the wealthy and the privileged and the elite to be able to get out of it. And so not only does it upend society and make people resent the elite, it makes people just resent the rule of law as well, which is philosophically a roundabout way of saying, this is why I'm opposed to the cameras in front of schools. It's not about school safety and the kids. It's about a revenue scheme for local governments, and they can't even be honest with us about it. And I'm so tired of the government lying to us and always claiming things are for safety when they're not. Whether it's the federal government, the state government, or local government, so often they hide behind claims of safety when really it's just money.
When the truth seems hazy, Eric will clear the way. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
220 Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Still got this trouble. The stalled big rig right lane, 75 South Wade Green Road, exit 273, slowing the right out of Ackworth. Northbound crash on the left shoulder, 75 north before Highway 92, also causing a slow zone there. Construction continues in the right lanes in Doraville, 285 westbound, the outer loop of Buford Highway, slowing you leaving I-85 Spaghetti Junction. Traffic brought to you by John Foy & Associates, personal injury law firm. An injury can change your life. Give attorney John Foy for the first shot and call for a free case evaluation. You deserve justice and help. Let them earn your trust and your business. Call John Foy or go to johnfoy.com. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm Chris Chandler. When you join us Monday, starting at 5 for Atlanta's Morning News, we'll have the exclusive 5-day forecast for the work week ahead and Triple Team traffic reports every 6 minutes, too. Plus, we'll look into what's sure to be another eventful week in the Trump first 100 days. Our Monday chat with CBS's Scott McFarland in Washington. And the one-way Clark Howard says you do not want to pay your taxes. Join us for Atlanta's Morning News Monday on 95.5 WSB.
For many of you, it's happening. Your hair's thinning, your crown's disappearing, and maybe hair loss has you feeling your identity is lost altogether. Well, I got good news. It's Advanced Hair's incredible, yet simple, one-day treatment that starts regrowing your own natural hair the very next day, and it's guaranteed to grow for life. It's Mark Aaron back with you. We've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. They help retain what you have, but what about regrowing your hair permanently in specific areas? From Advanced Hair's state-of-the-art facilities to their world-class physicians, it's not maybe your hair will regrow. It's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. You decide how much, how thick, and where. Advanced Hair has changed tens of thousands of lives, and I've seen their results, friends. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts, call 470-660-HAIR. That's 470-660-HAIR or advancedhair.com.
I'm here with Chris Hoffman, the founder of Hoffman Financial Group, to discuss one of the biggest blind spots that people face when saving for retirement, and it's a head scratcher. Chris, how do so many people not know what they're invested in?
That's the biggest flaw that everybody runs into. They think they know what equities they have, they think they know what bonds they have, but they really don't know how those mutual funds or how those index funds are performing in conjunction with one another. So, I would liken this to a big pot of soup, and we're just throwing all the ingredients in the refrigerator in this thing. It's not very good. It's just a mishmash of stuff. And sometimes you like the way it tastes. Sometimes you don't. And when you don't know why. You don't know if you got too much chicken in there or too much vegetables in there or what's going on. And I ask every caller that comes in for an initial consultation, do you know how your portfolio is broken down? And they say, well, I've got, 20 or so options in my 401k, and I just picked 2 of them or 3 of them. I thought I needed some international. I thought I needed some U.S. equities. I thought I needed some bonds. And they're just guessing. So you have to absolutely know what you're invested in, and that's where we will run the 401k portfolio x-ray for you, because that'll break it down. If you're not proficient at investing and don't understand this world, we will walk you through it. Not knowing what you're invested in is a big hindrance to growing and protecting your money. We will run a portfolio x-ray for you and educate you on exactly what's in your portfolio.
Set up a time to get your complimentary portfolio x-ray today. Call the Hoffman Financial Group at 404-737-3858. That's 404-737-3858, or book online at unleashyourmoney.com. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Hoffman Financial Group Incorporated, Georgia Insurance License number 163546.
The following is a paid commercial announcement.
Georgia, we don't need to tell you that your cost of living has gotten too high. Lawsuit abuse creates a hidden tax on your car insurance, healthcare, groceries, really on everything you need, and it's driving up prices. It's costing Georgia families over $5,000 every year. But there's a solution to stop lawsuit abuse and lower costs for hardworking Georgians. It's tort reform. Listen to Governor Kemp.
Our businesses and hardworking Georgians need relief. The increased cost of doing business is simply passed on to the consumer. Georgia needs tort reform, and they need it now.
Call your legislator and tell them to join Governor Kemp in stopping lawsuit abuse, eliminating this hidden tax, and passing tort reform now. Brought to you by Protecting American Consumers Together.
Your non-stop news source, 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
To 33777.
Okay, those of you on the phone, stand by. There's some breaking news I got to get to. I would not normally talk about this story, but it became such a national news story. I have gotten calls from my affiliate in Oregon. I got calls from people all over the country about this case because it made national headlines. It's the case against Brittany Patterson. If you're not familiar with the case, Brittany Patterson is the lady who lives in North Georgia, rural North Georgia. And she was arrested after her son was found walking alone in their small town. They live in Mineral Bluff, a town of about 300 people. The boy had walked less than a mile from the family's 16-acre home, was found by a sheriff's deputy or someone in town who complained, and the mother was arrested. She did not know that her son had been walking into town. The body camera footage of the police officer with the mother went viral, and she was arrested and booked. And people thought it was fair. Now, for those of you who don't know, by the way, this story has become a major national news story. This town it's a beautiful area of the state of Georgia, and it is rural. It is rural. You're not going to get into trouble. You're more likely to get attacked by a bear than a human being up there. It's just good people, God's country, and people around the country got outraged that the police would harass this woman who let her son wander around. The case has been dropped. The district attorney has dismissed the charges against the woman. Frank Wood, the district attorney, hasn't responded to local media requests, nor has the Superior Court clerk, but said they did dismiss Ms. Patterson's case against her. So breaking news happening. If you've heard about this case, nationally, and we were getting phone calls from the state of Oregon wondering what the heck was going on in a place like Georgia that this could happen. The case has now been dismissed. The charges have been dropped against the mom, which is good to hear. She never should have been charged in the first place. It was always wild to me that anyone thought that this was a prosecutable case. The district attorney has dropped the charges. Now, with interest rates the way they are, with banks the way they are, did you know, I saw something the other day that small banks in this country, thanks to the CFPB regulations, are like decreasing. The number of small and community banks that are going down in this country because of the Consumer Financial Protection Board. We've got a banking crisis in the country. Swiss America has been warning people. They're the leader of precious metals in this country for 40 years. They're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. They've been warning people about the secret war on cash. They would love to give you their free report. It takes less than 15 minutes to read. It can save your retirement and finances. If you want to get a copy of it for free, you call or text my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 800-289-2646. The all-out war on cash includes digital forms of currency. It is spreading. Swiss America can educate you about it completely free. All you do is call or text my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646. That's 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
It's 2:30. I'm Jonathan O'Brien with our top local story. Gwinnett County Police say they are currently investigating a murder-suicide in Duluth. It happened around 10:30 last night at an apartment off of Centerview Drive. Police finding a man and woman dead inside. They're working to determine a cause of death. No names have been released. We're working to learn more. Governor Kemp's effort to overhaul the state's litigation rules has cleared a key hurdle. The first of two bills on the issue passed the state Senate today. Senate President Pro Tem John F. Kennedy sponsored the bill, which now heads to the House.
I think they recognize and will recognize this is going to be good for Georgians.
Democrats say the proposal benefits insurance companies. We're following a developing story out of Louisville, Kentucky, where 3 people have been shot at a DMV office there. 1 person is dead and 2 others have been wounded. Police say there's no ongoing threat to the public. An explosion at a Hawaii beachside condo resort in a popular tourist area has injured some people and left a pile of debris. Police say the explosion happened last night at the resort in West Maui. David Flint was nearby at the time.
We were swimming down in the pool down at the Sheridan, and suddenly there was just like this huge earth-shaking boom. Like, you could tell it wasn't like a firework or something somebody planned.
7 people ranging in age from 18 to 74 were hurt in the explosion, 3 of them critically. And drug overdose deaths are down for the first time since the pandemic began. New data from the Atlanta-based CDC shows that the rate of overdose deaths fell 4% from 2022 to 2023. It's 2:31.
Atlanta's biggest and best jewelry financing special is back at D. Geller & Son Jewelers. Through this weekend, get 0% APR financing for 5 years on any new purchase at D. Geller & Son. You could get a 1-carat natural diamond in a platinum designer setting as low as $150 a month. Gift shopping or even treating yourself, you can get a 2-carat anniversary band or a 5-carat tennis bracelet for under $45 a month. Shop with us in Kennesaw, Sandy Springs, and online at dgeller.com.
Buying a car? Get pre-approved at Coosa Valley Credit Union for one of the lowest rates in the market, as low as 4.49%. Or save money by refinancing your existing auto loan. At Coosa Valley Credit Union, we're committed to offering our members the most competitive interest rates in the market. This is Andy Harris, President of Coosa Valley Credit Union, inviting you to stop in a branch near you. You'll experience kinder banking with real people, not automation. Plus, with 11 locations, we're always local and nearby in Northwest Georgia.
Equal opportunity lender.
Did you know that eating healthier and more delicious food is not only good for you, but affordable as well? Hi, it's Sue from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minute. At the Bread Beckers store in Woodstock, we can teach you how to make real, delicious bread loaded with fiber and nutrients from real whole grains. A healthy, delicious, and affordable solution for your family. Eating real bread will satisfy your hunger and greatly reduce the amount of food you need to eat. Plus, your improved health from eating real bread may even reduce the need for frequent doctor visits. That's what Real Bread did for our family. 2 doctor visits with 9 kids in 25 years. I have a degree in food science, and for more than 30 years, I've studied the incredible health benefits of whole grains and real bread. So if you're struggling with bowel issues, high cholesterol, weight gain, warts, or kids who seem to be constantly sick, take the first steps to a healthier, more affordable life. Visit onlyrealbread.com. The Bread Beckers, onlyrealbread.com.
Imagine this. It's 10 o'clock and time to go to bed.
Scary, right? It might be, especially if you fear the chance of an accidental leakage and skin irritation. Well, if that's the case, you need to try Tena Sensitive Care Overnight Pads. Its skin comfort formula acts as a barrier to help protect your skin and provides triple protection against leaks, odor, and wetness, helping you feel secure throughout the night. With Tena Overnight Pads, your nights will be smoother and your days brighter. Try them now and have a smooth night.
It's 2:34, time for live team coverage of traffic and weather. Alex Williams in the WSB 24-hour traffic center.
No improvements out of the northwest with a stalled big rig in the right lane. 75 South, Wade Green Road, exit 273. You're slow back at Highway 92. You can use Highway 41 if you want to avoid that. Got some maintenance operations in the right lane heading through Buckhead down toward Midtown. 400 southbound, just past Sidney Marcus Boulevard, exit 1 there in the right lane. Delays from Lennox Road. And the construction continues in Dorville, 285 westbound, the outer loop of Beaufort Highway, exit 32. There are a couple of right lanes there. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
This is WSB meteorologist Christina Upward. Sunny skies and chilly for today with a high of 46. That's trending about 15 degrees below average for this afternoon. Another hard freeze for tonight, lows in the mid-20s. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, high 52. On Sunday, staying cool and dry with morning lows in the 30s, daytime highs in the mid-50s.
42 degrees here in Midtown Atlanta. More news at 3 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Jonathan O'Brien, 95.5 WSB.
Smart, fearless, and occasionally funny. You're listening to The Eric Erickson Show.
Occasionally, but don't get used to it. Happening just a few moments ago, the President of the United States had a pretty intense exchange with Janet Mills, the Democratic governor of Maine, at the White House. Let's listen in.
The NCAA has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
Wow. Standing up to Janet Mills, the pretentious Democratic governor of Maine who has ignored the president's executive order keeping men out of women's sports and telling her she's going to get her funding cut. She said, I'll see you in court. He says, I will see you in court. Now, to the phones, 877-973-7425. Pierce has been waiting quite a while. Pierce, we had to work out all the gremlins. Thanks for being patient.
That's no problem, Eric. Good to talk to you again. I got a different take on this President Trump and Zelensky controversy.
Okay.
We know that Trump came out and, pretty much cut him out of the initial beginning of talks, which was kind of a snub in itself. But do you think maybe this is a little bit of payback for the phone call that initiated his second indictment or impeachment? And maybe he's letting him know you should have maybe worked out an investigation on the corruption that I wanted you to.
Yeah, look, I think that Trump uses Zelensky and Ukraine as a proxy for a lot of his grievances about how he's been treated over time. I really do. And I think people around Trump say the same thing, that it is bigger. And it was the first impeachment with Ukraine and the phone call, and because Zelensky became president sometime shortly thereafter and was involved. And Pierce, I think it's fair to say that, rightly or wrongly, I do think that Trump has this problem. And I've got to also say, I think I of all people probably need to say this. I do think we should support Ukraine. I do think Donald Trump is right to say the war needs to be wound down. And I do think Ukraine is going to have to give up some territory. But I also think, though I support Ukraine and think Ukraine is not the aggressor, Ukraine did not start the war, and this was not about Ukraine and NATO. It was about Putin's ambitions to rebuild a Soviet sphere of influence as Russia. I think we all need to acknowledge Volodymyr Zelensky has been given very bad advice by the global elite. The photo op with Vanity Fair with his wife to try to build sympathy, it worked with the elite. I don't know that it worked with the common man. Showing up in Pennsylvania to a weapons depot with Kamala Harris looked very much like the Democrats were using him as a prop to advance Kamala Harris in the election. I think he's been badly advised by a Western elite that don't like Donald Trump, and that has played into Vladimir Putin's hands. I think Zelensky himself doesn't know how to navigate the Trump situation. Remember, Donald Trump's administration armed Ukraine. It was the Obama administration that did not want to give Ukraine weapons. It was the Trump administration that armed Ukraine with the Javelin missiles that successfully kept the Russians from taking Kyiv within 4 days of the war. So Trump is not naturally antagonistic towards Ukraine, but Zelensky has handled himself poorly with Trump, and I absolutely think Zelensky was given terrible advice. Also, I think the Democrats did turn Ukraine and support for Ukraine into a partisan issue in a way they should not have. And the key case in point is using Zelensky as a prop at the end of the 2024 presidential campaign in Pennsylvania with Kamala Harris. That signaled to so many friends of mine that this was a partisan political issue. And it signaled to so many friends of mine that Zelensky was willing to be used as a prop. And I don't know that he was willing. I think someone told him he should do it. It would be a great way to build more rapport with Americans or whatnot. But it looked to me and to a lot of others who were sympathetic to Ukraine as if he was being deployed as a partisan tool for the Democrats. And that, I think, absolutely rubbed a lot of Republicans the wrong way. And Zelensky's got some damage control he needs to do, and part of that is recognizing he's going to have to give up some territory to get peace. Now, back to the phones. Jim, you're going to be the next caller. Welcome to the show, Jim. How are you?
I'm pretty well. How are you?
Great.
Well, listen, one of the things that I always admire about Trump is that he gets things done. And before he was inaugurated, he said those hostages better be out by the time I get in office, or there will be all hell to pay. And they weren't. A couple of weeks ago, he says they better be out by noon Saturday. And here we are now finding they aren't all out. Now, anybody else, I'd be just jumping down his throat who did this. What is the holdup here? I can't believe he's the one who's going weak on us, but something's holding him back. Do you have any idea what that might be?
It's funny you say this because this came up yesterday when I was there, that they are waiting for an Israeli plan. And so Trump's not going to send in the American military to Gaza. But if Israel wants to go in and wipe everyone out, at this point, I think, in fact, I was specifically told, and I've now seen it reported online, that Trump saw the video of Hamas returning those dead babies and voiced publicly for the first time that he thinks they need to be eradicated. And I think that the Trump administration is waiting for some significant plan from Israel, and he intends to bless whatever plan that is for Israel and Netanyahu to go in there and wipe out Hamas. And if there is a lot of collateral damage, there's a lot of collateral damage, and Trump is going to stand with Israel. He's going to give them the weapons they want to do the job they want to do and to wipe them out. But I do think, Jim, to your point, it very much is waiting on a plan from Israel. Let Israel show us what they want to do. Trump intends to bless whatever it is and let them go in there because they've dragged their feet. Not all the hostages are returned. Not all the bodies are returned. And Trump intends to keep his word that if the bodies and the hostages are not returned by tomorrow, and I guess it was supposed to be last week, all hell is going to break loose. But it's waiting for that plan from Israel. Linda in Orlando, Florida, going to go to you next. Welcome to the show.
Hi. I probably should go off speaker.
All right.
Just a comment on potential diplomatic settlement between Ukraine and Russia. I know in criminal law there's something, and you correct me if I get it wrong, an Alford plea. It's the weird one where someone says, I'm not guilty, but I know it's in my best interest to say I'm guilty and get this over with. That in the diplomatic verbiage, something to say we do not agree that this territory that occupied by Russians is or should be Russians, but we recognize it's in our best interest to settle it now. I don't know if it'd fly. Maybe it would.
Yeah, look, I hadn't thought about an Alford plea in a long time. But, yeah, for those of you who don't know, there is a plea called the Alford plea. Henry Alford was the guy who'd been indicted for, I want to say it was like murder or something like that. And essentially, there was a capital punishment, and he didn't want to plead guilty, but took essentially a plea saying it was in my best interest to plead guilty, even though I'm not going to admit that I did it. That's the Alford plea. And it has become a thing where you could say, I'm not going to admit guilt, but I'm going to plead guilty because I think it's in my best interest to do so. And yeah, I mean, that's actually, Linda, an interesting comparison so let's just say, look, we're not ready we think we can win this thing, but we recognize it's in our best interest to wrap this up and surrender some territory to the Russians to make everything go away now. And that's where Trump is headed, really. And that's why there's been this very boisterous response over the last 48, 72 hours from Trump, is he really does want to convey to Zelensky that, look, we're in this with you guys, but you're not making it easy, and you're going to have to give up some territory. And what Trump really wants is some rare earth mineral rights from Ukraine, which I think Zelensky at this point realizes he's going to have to give to us if they want us to continue helping them in some way. You can say it's transactionalism, but Trump's very transactional, and he needs access to rare earth minerals to combat China. And if we can get them from Ukraine, well, we'll keep helping Ukraine. Chris in Jacksonville, Florida. Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show.
Yeah, I've been listening since you've been on air in Jacksonville. I really like your show.
Thank you.
I just wanted to mention, yeah, you're welcome. I just wanted to mention, you keep mentioning Georgia with the school traffic scams with the cameras. They have those here in Florida, in Lalty and Walden. I just got one the other day, and so did one of my coworkers, just driving to a customer's house, not during school hours, and they'll give you a $75 ticket for going 1 mile an hour over. I got a $100 ticket for going 12 miles over, and it's on a county road that changes speed limits from 65 to 55 to 45. You can't even hardly see the school at all, and like I said, the lights aren't even flashing. And they're giving them to you during non-school hours, and they double that fee if you're during school hours.
It's such a scam. It's an absolute scam. And for all the people who say, well, don't speed. Here's the problem in a lot of these cases is that they keep the cameras on and giving you a ticket for the school zone speed, not the actual speed limit sign. So you're not technically speeding, but even if you're like 1 mile over the speed limit, police give you grace for a couple miles over the speed limit because the way speedometers work. And the ticket, the cameras don't. It's infuriating. I didn't realize that Florida had abdicated its law enforcement responsibility to cameras. I'm glad to know, and I'm horrified for all of you that that's the case. DeSantis should get rid of those as well. In Georgia, the lobbyists for the camera companies have spent $300,000 trying to keep Republicans in their pockets. And the rumor is that they're trying to work in the House of Representatives to scuttle this legislation. It's about 100 of the 180 members signing this legislation. They're trying to scuttle it, and they think they might be able to scuttle it in the state Senate. I hope not. So Burt Jones is the lieutenant governor of the state of Georgia. He's a Trump populist, good guy, conservative, and they've thrown a lot of money at him, the camera companies have, and I'm hoping that he recognizes that this is such a populist issue that it's the working class voters who are getting screwed by these cameras, so stand up to them. and kill the cameras. There's no reason to compromise. You got the majority of the legislature want them dead. Kill the cameras and restore law enforcement to the people, not the cameras. Now, I'll get off my tirade on the cameras. But if you live in Georgia, you should text ENGAGE to 33777 and tell your state representative to stand with Dale Washburn against these things. And the rest of you should call 404-COMPUTE or go to visioncomputers.com and tell them at Vision Computers you want a new computer, or just have them upgrade your computer, or just use their world-class tech support. They have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of 5-star reviews for Vision Computers because they really are hands down the best. We've got one of their computers in our house, wasn't taken advantage of. They sat down with my son and me. He wanted a gaming PC. I didn't know enough about gaming PCs. They walked him through what sort of games are you playing now? What sort of games do you want to play? Do you want to get into flight simulators, things like that? They built a computer around his design. He's going to be able to take it to college with him. And we'll be able to upgrade parts if we need to. And anytime he's had a problem, anytime he's had a question, he calls them. He doesn't call Dad. He calls Vision. And they have talked my kid through it. I mean, he's 16 now, but even as a 14-year-old, he could call him. He had loosened his monitor one time, didn't realize it. And they were able to diagnose it over the phone and tell him exactly what to do to be able to get his monitor working again. They're fantastic, easy to work with, super people. They can do this for your home. They can do it for your office as well. All you have to do is call them at 404-COMPUTE or go to visioncomputers.com. Tell them I sent you. You're going to save even more money. And if you just want their tech support, you can get just their tech support. Even if you haven't bought a computer from them, you can get their tech support. $179 a year per computer. You can do it for your whole office, so you don't have to have an in-house IT guy. Visioncomputers.com or 404-COMPUTE.
You're at the intersection of politics, news, culture, and current events. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
250 Corday Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Still got that stalled big rig in the right lane. Been there too long. 75 South Wade Green Road, exit 273. That is in the right lane. You're slow leaving Highway 92 at Avackworth. Still got that construction crew in the right lane. 400 southbound just below Sidney Marcus Boulevard, exit 1, causing delays through the Buckhead area. And construction continues. 285 westbound, the outer loop in Dorville, passing Buford Highway, exit 32. That is in a couple of right lanes. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
News.
Atlanta police on the lookout
At the top and bottom of every hour.
2 people are dead and 19 others are injured after a small plane crashed.
And when it breaks.
Johnson with 218 votes right now, and it appears that would be enough to get him reelected House Speaker.
Check back 3, 4, 5 times a day.
95.5 WSB. Atlanta's breaking news station.
Hi, I'm David Nicholas, financial advisor and president of Nicholas Wealth Management. It's hard to imagine, but one day in retirement, your income will stop. You may have been working for 30 or 40 years, but now you'll have to depend on the money you've saved for the next 30 years. How do you know if you've saved enough? What does it mean to spend confidently in retirement? One of the worst things that you can do is get to retirement and not know how much income your investments can produce. At Nicholas Wealth, we created a plan that will show you what your investments can potentially generate in dividends, interest, and growth in retirement. We call this our Spend Confidently plan. When's the best time to turn on Social Security? What are some of the best dividend-paying stocks available? Our CPAs and CFPs will show you what your income number is and how a diversified portfolio of income-producing investments could potentially provide you consistent monthly income. Our Retire Ready Income Report is a $1,000 value. We'll provide it completely complimentary if you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement and you give us a call in the next 10 minutes. Number to call is 404-890-5606. That's 404-890-5606, or you can go to nicholaswealth.com.
Nicholas Wealth is an independent financial services firm that uses a variety of different investment strategies. This is prepared for informational purposes only. It does not address specific investment objectives or the financial situation and the needs of any person. This is a paid advertisement.
Coming up from the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra, a Delta classical concert featuring music director laureate Robert Spano, conducting Copland's evocative Appalachian Spring, capturing the American wilderness, and Vaughan Williams' melodic and serene Fifth Symphony. Also on the program, ASO principal harpist Elizabeth Remy Johnson performs the Grammy Award-winning concerto by Atlanta school composer Jennifer Higdon, March 20th and 22nd at Symphony Hall. Details at aso.org.
WSB Atlanta.
WSB-BFM and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Serving my country required sacrifice. Sacrifice that changed my life forever. I remember the day I came home. Because of my injuries, this house wasn't right for me anymore. I remember the narrow doorways, the small bathrooms, the shelves out of reach when in my wheelchair. Every day was full of obstacles. I felt trapped. I remember a better day, the day my family received a specially adapted custom home from Homes for Our Troops. That day changed everything. Now we have a safe and accessible home to enjoy the freedom I fought for. This place, our home, is exactly what we needed to rebuild our lives.
Homes for Our Troops builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans and enables them to rebuild their lives. Join our mission at hfotusa.org.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Get the podcast, live stream, email, and social media links by texting Eric to 33777 now.
Hello, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425, except it's too late. You can't call now. We're towards the end of the show, and there's some breaking news I got to get to. Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, has fired the Los Angeles fire chief. The fire chief is the first female, member of the Alphabet Gang to be a fire chief in Los Angeles. So much for the diversity quota there, tossing her. The mayor alleges the fire chief did not make the mayor aware of the seriousness of the fire risk before the mayor left to go to Ghana for a political inauguration she wanted to be at, and that when the fire started, Los Angeles had sufficient firefighters, but the fire chief allowed them to not come to work, essentially claiming this is incompetence on the fire chief's part, allegedly. So that's going to be a very, very interesting fight between, the gay community possibly, the fire chief, the mayor. I bet you there's going to be a lot of spilling lots of gossip out as this thing takes place. And lastly, can we just comment on Donald Trump's plan to privatize the post office? They're already running fear scenarios at CNN. When I was young and working for a member of Congress, the member of Congress authored legislation to privatize the post office. Do you know what happened? He stopped getting his mail. Just kept getting lost all of a sudden. It was very weird. Before he authored the legislation, mail ran fine. The moment after, the mail just kept screwing up. This is from CNN. The Trump administration's considering steps that could give it more control over the independent U.S. Postal Service, according to multiple published reports. It's a move that could upend how Americans get critical deliveries, including online purchases, prescription drugs, checks, and vote-by-mail ballots. The Washington Post first reported late Thursday, citing numerous anonymous sources, that President Trump planned to disband the Postal Service Board of Governors and place the agency under control of the Commerce Department. The Postal Service didn't respond to requests. Now, there has been no executive order signed. The White House says this is not true. There is a congressional enactment for the Postal Board of Governors, and that's a bit of a problem. But why can't we privatize the post office? Donald Trump has supported privatizing in the past. UPS and FedEx work a whole lot better, more efficiently, and at lower cost than the post office does. The post office has a monopoly on the number 10 envelope, which is the standard letter size envelope. No other company is allowed to put anything in a number 10 envelope. It's got to go through the mail. That's how they maintain their monopoly, among other things. And despite that monopoly, they are horribly inefficient with massive cost overruns. We should outsource the post office. Other countries have privatized their mail. Heck, other countries have privatized their air traffic control systems, and they are more efficient than us. privatization is not a bad word, people. It's actually something good that we consider. It looks like Donald Trump might be trying to consider it. Now, you guys have a wonderful weekend. Text Eric to 33777. Follow me on Instagram. You'll see my cooking this weekend, and I'll talk to you guys on Monday, hopefully with no gremlins.
WSB consumer expert Clark Howard.
I've talked endlessly about the terrible, terrible problems of you using Big Bad Zelle, with the complete lack of consumer protections that come with Zelle, the horror of people finding that checks start bouncing, their rent isn't paid, their mortgage isn't paid because some crook got in there and stole money from their checking account through the unprotected Zelle app. Well, now I can tell you it's not just Zelle. Cash App is having to pay $250 million restitution for not having good security on its platform, where people's money gets swiped and then they can't get it back from Cash App. Know that if you use Venmo, Cash App, or Zelle, that the only time you should ever use it is to pay a friend or family member, not use it generally for other purposes. I'm Clark Howard.
News, weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's news and talk.
At 3 o'clock, I'm Jonathan O'Brien with our top local story. Sandy Springs police move quickly in issuing warrants in the shooting of a teenager.
2 warrants have been issued in connection with the shooting of a young girl at a Roberts Drive apartment this week. The warrants are for Nakai Brown and his mother, Lanisha Helena Younger. Brown is wanted for aggravated assault and other crimes. Younger is wanted for tampering with evidence. Sandy